Okay, it is 1 p.m. on Eastern Time where I am on the Gulf Coast of Florida, where I just survived a hurricane and my home does not have power yet. I've been without power since Wednesday morning. And here I am. I have wonderful friends near where I live, not quite in Sarasota, who offered me their home for this amazing show today, so I can come and have internet and power and be with you all. And I'm just so grateful to be on the other side of that storm. I'm also really grateful that my own home and area was not damaged badly. However, my heart goes out to all of the people in Florida who did have severe damage. Fort Myers area, and it's just a little bit south of where I live, got just pummeled and terrible destruction happened there. So I invite everyone to send out prayers for the people that have lost their homes and all of their belongings, and a few people I believe even lost their lives. So I'm praying for all of those people. And today I'm just so grateful to be here, to be present, to be alive, and to be with you. And so my name is Waxéla Sananda. I am the founder of Alchemy of Ascension Summit and podcast series. And we partnered with Neil Gar for this Portal to Ascension live stream, as well as Alchemy of Ascension broadcast today. So thank you so much, Neil and Portal to Ascension, for all you do and all the amazing information that you bring the world. And I'm grateful to be a part of it. I am also a co-host on the new Portal to Ascension variety show. And that is a really fun variety show we're doing monthly with lots of amazing speakers and musicians and comedians. And we're just bringing in lots of different wonderful people. So be sure and tune in on that. And we're doing that every month on Portal to Ascension. There have already been 2 of them, so you can go back and look at the previous ones. And today I am going to present to you 4 amazing speakers who I'm so excited to share. They will each be presenting for about 30 minutes. And in speaker order, we're going to have Reverend HoniB, Borden, and followed by Nadi Hana, followed by Meg Benedicte. And then we'll finish off today with Bridget Renee Holliday, and then we'll do a speaker panel for those speakers that are able to stay. They will be joining for a panel and we'll get to do Q&A. So especially for those of you in the Zoom, and I'll occasionally be checking the live stream, put your questions in as we go. And every once in a while, I'll look and see who is asking questions, and I might use some of those questions in the speaker panel at the end of the show. And so I would love to invite all of you to join me on the Alchemy of Ascension Season 6. We are deep into the Summit series, but you can still get in. There is a replay period coming at the end. And to get involved with that, it's my name, Waxéla Sananda, which is WAXELASANDA.com/AOA6 for Alchemy of Ascension 6. Then you can register, you can get in on the live streams, you could come to the Zooms, and you can get all of the amazing speakers that we have. And I have 33 speakers this time, so it's been a huge production, and we're having so much fun. So much powerful information is being shared, all on Ascension. And this theme, the theme of this summit, is exploring expanded states of consciousness, which all of the speakers have and have done. And so to understand and get introduced to expanded states of consciousness from 33 different perspectives is my intention with the show, is to have people's minds expand, to have your consciousness expand, to have your heart expand, and your ability to hold higher frequencies of light expand, so that you can step into your ascension process wherever you are, in a deeper way, in a more powerful way, in a more open way, and have the support and know that there are so many other people in the world, around the globe, globe, doing this work side by side, even when we're virtual. We join together as a web of light, a network of light, supporting each other, holding each other high, lighting each other up, giving each other wings. That is what this ascension time is all about. It's about collaboration. It's about working together, about not having to be the lone wolf anymore. And I myself have worked as a lone wolf so much of my life. And when I stepped into doing summits, I got how valuable collaboration is. I get to create a platform for other people's voices who are instrumental voices in the ascension, and to get to collaborate and be friends and connect like that is just such a beautiful thing. So I invite you, whoever you hear today in this live broadcast that resonates with your heart, connect with them. They'll be offering free gifts. They'll be offering, some of them will offer paid offers as well. And it's your opportunity to, if somebody touches your heart, if you hear them speak and you say, oh, wow, this is for me. I feel this. I know there's something here for me. Then invest in them, get on their mailing list, connect with them, let them support you. We are all ascension trainers here, and we are all lifting each other up. And I know many of you are watching, many of you who are watching us are also helping and working toward supporting others in their ascension process. Some people will be newly awakened. Other people will have been on this journey for decades and decades and decades. It doesn't matter where you are in this process. We are all equal, we are all one, and we are all meant to do this together, to come together as a beloved humanity, connected, doing this ascension work and expanding ourselves. Now is the time, and it's such an exciting time. And so again, thank you to Portal to Ascension for hosting us today. And I shared with you, please do get on the summit AOA 6 if you haven't yet, waxelasananda.com, Alchemy of Ascension 6. And then I also have a membership that I'm opening this month. It is called the Alchemy of Ascension Community Membership. You will get invited to that if you join my mail list, or if you get on the Alchemy of Ascension Summit series. I would love to have you. It's a very low cost. It's a way that we'll get to connect and do this work together twice a month. Plus, I'll connect you with other community members, and we get to really dive in deeper and do this work together in such a powerful way. And it's so much fun. And I'm so grateful that just to be alive at this time, it's such an amazing, powerful time. So that's my for starters, that is what I wanted to share with you. My personal mission, again, my name is Waxéla Sananda. My personal mission, I am here to work with the ascension of humanity. That's my purpose for being on the earth now. Everything that I do is revolving around that purpose. And as I mentioned a little bit ago, I was just in the hurricane, just north of the eye of the storm that hit in Fort Myers. And it really showed me, I mean, I knew the power of the earth, but to watch, I was home while those winds were blowing through, and the rain and the power and the intensity of that hurricane, it spoke to me. And so I took some time to just commune with the wind and with the spirit, with the voice of that hurricane. And it was the power, the empowerment of Gaia, the empowerment of Mother Earth. And she spoke so powerfully and loudly that this is our time. She told me, I have myself handled. You don't have to worry about me as the earth. You take care of humanity. Humanity gets to upgrade through this process and come with me. And again, as Earth speaking, she says, I could wipe out the entire human race if I wanted to. She doesn't want to do that, but I have that handled. I'm empowered. I am so much more powerful than you understand. And we get to feel that when something like a hurricane blows through. And I really felt her power. I felt her empowerment. And it was beautiful. Even in the destruction, the beauty of the power of the earth is incredible. And to feel that and to be uplifted by it and to know, okay, she's got herself handled. We get to get ourselves handled. And so that's what we're up to here at Portal to Ascension, at the Alchemy of Ascension, and every speaker sharing with you today and on the Summit series. That is what we're doing. We are coming together to join together and uplift each other in our ascension journeys. And so now I get to jump in and share with you. This is one of my beloved sisters is going to start our show. Her name is Reverend HoniB, Borden, and she has been recently, she and her beloved Michael moved to the Sarasota area. And wow, what a gift to have such a sacred sister in my hometown area and get together and do ceremony and share our journey together. She's been such an upgrade and a delight, delighted to have her in my life. That's one of her words, to be delighted. And so let me introduce to you Reverend HoniB, and I'll read a little bit from her bio. Reverend HoniB Borden is an ordained esoteric minister consecrated by the first ray of light under direct guidance of Master ElMorya of the 7 sacred flames to assist humanity to its divinity. She is an Ascension alchemist, TransMedium, TransChannler, light language speaker, teacher, and activator, and transmitter of living crystalline diamond codes of light, bringing through the pure white diamond ray onto Sophia Gaia through her sound vocal tones. As a galactic shamanista, she delivers her divine earth mission by activating the planetary Christ consciousness grid via Magdalene and Yeshua codes through the Rose Dragon line. And Honey will be speaking today on Sophia Christ consciousness light code transmission. And I'm so excited. Let me get you pinned here, Honey. Welcome to the show. Go ahead and unmute yourself. So beautiful to have you here today, sister. I'm so grateful for your presence as always. And you look radiant and I love your background. And this is, you know, one thing I can tell everyone about you, Honey, is that you are authentic. You are authentically yourself, no matter whether it's a women's circle, a one-on-one, whether you're doing a ceremony, you are always the way that you present yourself. You are always of service. Your heart is always open. You're always generously giving of yourself. And I just appreciate you so much for all that you are and all that you do.
Delighted to be here, Sacred Waxela, and this beautiful guests that are joining this. So thank you so much. I'm truly ecstatic to be here and share this moment, this really golden moment with everyone. Thank you.
Yeah, our pleasure, our pleasure. So such a delight to have you. And so I know that you've prepared your topic today, which is just so perfect coming out of Hurricane Ian, which also impacted you, even though you vacated. It's very much in your presence and in so many of the lives of your friends. And so Sophia Christ consciousness light code transmission, what is that for someone that hears that and just says, wow, that's interesting. What does that mean?
So I'm going to start this actually with Ian Hurricane because it's so powerful what you and I have just come through, and it directly speaks to this. when you reached that for me to be one of the speakers, this was the communication about Sophia Kryst. And there's this idea and the awareness of Sophia Kryst, yet the embodiment, the walk of it is a very different way. So interestingly enough, when Hurricane Ian was announced, it was coming, so many of us were positioned where we were positioned. And we receive whether we are going to be staying or leaving. And you know, you've been to our place where we just recently moved to. We were in that first zone A, which was the mandatory evacuation because we were right a block from the water and 1 foot above the water. So it was so interesting to experience when life brings you circumstance. So it is giving you opportunity to truly exercise the Sophia Kryst light as you are connected with the living Sophia. This is the Sophia garden. We call it New Earth. We call it that ascension, you know, creating it, the new humanity, the rainbow bridge. We speak a lot of these terms, yet what does it mean like to be in the embodiment of it? So with this was so amazing because when the hurricane was announced it's coming, the first thing was the group gathering, several from Thursday night. I announced the group circle and then more group, more prayer, because we know the power of group focus and what it does. It doesn't matter. There's a consciousness and we are one consciousness. We speak of Christ consciousness, but sometimes when life circumstances, like let's say so-called natural disasters, they're really not. They're natural ascension gifts. It gives us the ability to really ascend to our higher state of consciousness, and from that consciousness to make the choices. So it's like, what would the divine love of that Christ consciousness choose? So this was an amazing opportunity because we'd moved to this new location. And I had just a month before that here back in Washington, D.C., I had experienced my own inner hurricane, tsunami, volcano and typhoon and earthquake from the food poison I had and the recovery. So I had experienced a lot of that spiraling purification and transmission that had to come out to be grounded in that field, my biofield being much more clear. So from there, it was so easy to be here without any stress, without any worry, but yet right here, just that deep truth, the Sophia light, which is that the Sophia Kryst is that sacred divine feminine, totally centered in the center of the heart, in that 0 point field. And there was no question for me that in this experience, it is very important to exercise the highest self-love, because it was not to play hero, it was not to play martyr, it was not to play savior, it was to honor yourself. What is right for you? And it took a little convincing for my beloved who's on this call. It's like, listen, this is not the time for us. We can facilitate our spiritual gets much better when we are in high elevation. We got to go to the mountain because we know how to work with the weather patterns. We know how to work with spirit of the wind, spirit of water, yet we have to be positioned there so that things are not bumping against our field and we can really bring like that plasma light and start shifting things around. And so the embodiment of it was very interesting, just quickly putting things in the car and not being attached and truly, walking away in that divine truth that these materials do not make who we are. We are the creative beings. So we were very prepared that we may come back to not having a home, not having anything. And that was also okay. I've gone through that several times in this incarnation. So what? Like, that doesn't make who I am. I am who I am. So that Sophia Kryst really rose greater in this step of it, because a lot of times we do, but we're doing it from worry. We're doing it from anxiety. We're doing it from, fear, and it's not love. And this action for me and for my beloved, for us and for my children, for my mother, it was really love. And then from that place of divine love, I could facilitate so much more, hold the light and expand the light with this journey of 4 days until we got back, and being on the mountain and being so nourished, being so loved, being so supported, being so blessed, and it's really swimming in the love, the ocean of its love, the ocean, the wind of its love. So you speak of it, but then we speak of it, yet it comes to life circumstances. There is the opportunity to truly exercise it and to see whether we are being bumped around, whether we are being thrown around, or whether we are, if you're in the position wherever we are, how that walk of embodiment is, wherever you're positioned. So Sophia Christ is the perfect divine feminine, divine masculine that is unified as a unified field of light. It's become so unified within the center, the vertical horizontal center, that has become that cross that we talk about, and is creating this diamond frequency. Within it is this dazzling light, which is a diamond pure light, and it radiates in all directions in its flow, and it can only really radiate when you're anchored so deep in your divine masculine and divine feminine, where you're so centered in that truth. And it's that truth that takes the walk, the action, the steps, that is harmonized, that is synchronized, that is really experiencing the blessings of its creator self, so it can pass on the blessings easily, with flow, with no resistance along the way. And it has its own transmission, it has its own frequency, because it is connected to the webs of life, as it is connected to the fabric of light, as it is of life, and it is connected to Gaia herself in its center, and all of its many different ways that the grids are connected, that are also in this crossing of its own divine union first, its own, without of another on the outside. So that's a very long way of answering your question, Waxela.
That's beautiful. And yeah, I know, I love seeing that you're in the mountains working with the energy while we're here, down on the ground. It's kind of like the above and below, and just the beautiful expansion of the heart that's possible no matter what comes through, no matter what happens. So
And one other thing is important. There's a default setting in light workers and starseeds that, for example, if I'm going to joy through this experience, there's that guilt. Oh my gosh, what about my loved ones? What about my friends? What about my family there, but they're suffering? And I came and I'm doing this. Look at where I am. I chose this instead. This is a default setting that has to shift inside, because we, as divine sovereign being, we all have choices, and it's the choices of exercising, and it is within. You must know yourself so deep at the core level, because when you're sacrificing, and you're really sacrificing, that is not the proper frequency of divine, because that's not alignment. When you are in without explanation, with no sort of like no explanation to anyone, but just your truth. I chose this because I was guided, and I know in this I can serve my greatest in this way. So when those default setting, I teach a lot about how to change these defaults, sort of like swipe it, start closing your own inner apps, because that does not serve you. And for you to feel like that's an old program, like I have to go save everybody while they are experiencing so-called suffering. But they also have to have that experience, and we must honor the individual's experience, what they chose to go through, so they can be on the other side of it. So I wanted to just add that into it, because that is also very much, when it's the crystalline diamond clarity of Sophia consciousness, it does not ever feel to explain itself other than know its truth and where it stands, where it is positioned, where it is anchored. So the greater part can radiate through.
Yes, indeed. That's so gorgeous. And so, honey, I know that you're doing a light code transmission. I know that your voice carries those codes as well. Are you interested in performing some light language for us today, or is that part of your transmission?
Just a little bit. Yeah, just a little bit would be wonderful, so that individuals can get to experience, because of what you and I just experienced through this wonderful Ian hurricane, and what Fiona was happening too. Wasn't that interesting? Divine masculine, divine feminine hurricanes going. And it is part of a purification and transformation. So I have my sample here, and I just felt, let's just bring a little bit of that light coded diamond pure white frequency in here, and let's see the inner Sophia consciousness, the Sophia Christ consciousness, what it wants to radiate for us very briefly. Sometimes it's a minute or 2 or 5 minutes where the sound begins to come in. So all I ask all of you to just, I'm going to take my bracelet off. I ask you to please just sit back and uncross your legs. It would be wonderful if you just uncross, your feet are totally flat. And I will also ask you, when you close your eyes, I'm going to start with the sound board. I'll be quiet for a little bit, but I'm going to give you the just 1 minute instruction first. So visualize yourself completely enclosed inside a diamond. And this diamond, see what resonates better for you, whether it's a gold diamond, a platinum diamond, a white diamond, or gold rose diamond, whichever feels right to you is perfect. And when you take, I want you to take a few deep, 7 deep breaths. And this is what I want you to do. When you take that first deep breath, connect it with the flame inside your heart. So you're honoring your sacred crystalline diamond heart first. Breathe it in and hold it for 3 seconds. Release it out into your large diamond. The next breath, breathe it in and breathe it in front of you, and then hold it again, breathe it out. The next breath, breathe it to your right. Same, come back to your heart, always come back. And the back, bring it to your heart, and then to your left. So this is kind of representing the 4 directions, the east, the south, the west, and the north. And then I want you to breathe all the way down to connect to the heart of Sophia Gaia through all your lower chakras. And then breathe that back into your heart so you make that connection. And from there, connect all the way up to all your upper chakras to source, to the heart of source, and breathe that back in. So within this 1 minute that I'm just quiet on the soundboard, take those deep breaths in, hold it 3 seconds, breathe it out. So I want all of your eyes to be closed as I'm going to tune in, and then I start bringing this in. What you might experience is some tingling, vibration moving through. Some of you may have more gestures. Whatever you experience is fine. And you may not experience anything. That's also fine. Some of you, your crown chakras will become totally lit up and the brain wires start pulsing. And some of you may experience a lot inside your, like literally your womb. So allow that as well. Just know you're here, the masters, the angels, the galactics, the spirit guides, all of them are here, because nothing less than the divine perfection of this crystalline diamond light from source can interact or enter fear in any which way with this. So I want you to do that for yourself, and I start bringing this in, and enjoy. Just allow and enjoy. I'll see you in a minute. Close your eyes and begin. Your breath. I will be quiet for the first minute. 1 second. Take a deep breath in. Hold it. And surrender in your diamond light. And breathe it out. And one more deep breath in, but breathe in the white mist all the way into you and hold that white mist. And breathe out the white mist out. And so it is.
Beautiful. Thank you, Reverend HoniB. I just felt my heart balancing, and it was interesting in your sharing of the language. They felt like familiar voices. And I'm like, oh yeah, I know you.
It's a mix. That one was a mix of the Magdalene consciousness voice together with a tiny bit of mix of Pleiadians and Lyrans towards the end, and the end was one of the plasma ships, so that it can just hone it in the vertical and horizontal axis, because the plasma light is what I was working with the hurricane for it, with the sacred divine feminine, sacred divine. I said the Sophia light, when you know how you can use the Sophia light and the plasma light with hurricanes, you can start to shift things around. And so this is a little bit of the post of it that was brought in. I speak about 30 plus different languages from different consciousness of the geometric golden transmissions. And this was for the group today. So thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to share it.
Yes, thank you. That was really expansive. And of course, I also work with the diamond light of the heart. And I think it is the key to accessing ascension, moving into the feeling, the heart center, the activating the heart so that we can connect through feelings and true emotions and authenticity rather than what our minds are chattering, right? Yeah, very beautiful, very sacred. Thank you so much. And that bowl, gorgeous, emerald.
Yeah, this is my, I can't quite see it. It's the sacred divine, feminine sacred divine. It is the Sophia, Sophia. Christ conscious, you can't quite see it here, and it's gold inside. To bring the emerald light really brings it in. So thank you. So wonderful.
So beautiful. And you are the gift. So thank you so much, Reverend HoniB, for being here and for sharing all of your wonderful offers. And you are just so beautiful and special and such a gift to the ascension and to the world. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for having me, and thank you so much everyone for being here. Waxela, I love you so much, and deepest gratitude, my goodness, for your essence, for your grace, for your remarkable resilience to keep on going and allowing this to take place after everything. I love you and I cherish you, and yeah, I'm with all of you.
Love you too. Thank you so much, Reverend HoniB.
Thank you.
Gorgeous. Okay, so thank you all for joining us with Reverend HoniB. And now, you know what? I want to check first and make sure we have, I think I saw Nadi here. Nadi, can you unmute just to be sure that I can find you?
Yes, how about that? Is
Okay,
my little green horse
wonderful.
lit up? Great.
Yay.
Hello.
So our next speaker is Nadi Hana, who I'm also so excited to share with everyone today. And I know Nadi has been on Portal to Ascension before, but it is your first time on the Alchemy of Ascension. And so sacred geometry is something that really speaks to my heart. It is more than a language, more than something that we see. It's a communication. It's an essence. It's a transformation. And Nadi is someone who has really embraced that understanding, the deeper understanding of sacred geometry as an expanded state of consciousness. So I'm going to share a little bit about Nadi, and then we'll get her on here. Nadi Hana is an inspiring instructor, presenter, energy healer, and artist. Her professional and spiritual practices are dedicated to the expansion of our multidimensional consciousness. As a practitioner of personal transformation for nearly 25 years, she has cultivated a broad spectrum of skills and abilities to support our individual and collective awakening. Nadi is a transition specialist of planetary service committed to the evolutionary process of humanity by accessing our full potential as multidimensional beings. So today, Nadi is going to talk about expanding our consciousness through sacred geometry. And just let me find you here. Oh, here you are. There you are. Oh,
Hi,
yeah. Hi.
nice to see you.
Nice to
see
see you
everyone.
too. I'm so
Mhm.
happy to have you here, and I'm so happy to have you share with everyone today. And I think it's time to just let you jump in and take it away.
Wonderful. Yeah, I just feel really honored to be here. And Reverend Honey, that was incredible. Thank you for that transmission. And it's so beautiful, Waxela, what you have put together and organized. And I I can't fathom trying to put all of this together amidst a hurricane. I have friends in Florida, and I taught a class last night, and my dear friend was in the dark with a flashlight, dedicated to showing up for the geometry. And I've always lived in the Northwest. I'm in the desert right now, and so I don't have that consciousness, but I can imagine the power, just experiencing that firsthand, the power of our mother, and how the cosmic forces and how our planetary forces are so impactful. So blessings to everyone who's making it from that region, and blessings to everyone who's surviving that. So I also want to give a little shout out to Neil, who's one of my favorite people. I so appreciate you, Neil, with Portal to Ascension, sharing all of the information and helping us really get all of the pieces of the puzzle to help with our expansion, our growth, and our job here. This is why we came. So I have a presentation. I have some sacred geometry. I'd love to share that because I think that the visuals and really learning about it, some of the universal patterns, can be quite transformational, right? So just seeing the shapes is a powerful activation in and of itself. And I'll start by a little bit of information. One, I know we've got some people that are absolute pros, right? Been working with the geometry, understand the power of it. And then we've also got a lot of beginning, opening, introductory, awakening connections with the geometry, right? It's the kind of thing that calls to us. There's this deep resonance. I think, Waxela, I think you mentioned that. But the resonance with the geometry is because we are the geometry. And there's a way that the harmonics of these perfectly proportioned shapes are resonating with our organic harmonics. And that's one of the I always get the question, what makes sacred geometry sacred, right? And that's one of the aspects of it, is that we are sacred. We are geometric patterns. And so as we work with the geometry, as we draw it, I'm a huge fan of drawing. I love sharing with people how to draw. As we draw it and work with it, we are aligning our systems with that state of balance that the geometry lives in, right? I'm going to show you in a minute that we are these beautiful fundamental patterns. And so as we're with the geometric patterns, we are aligning our systems and connecting ourselves with our higher guidance. We're opening our channels to receive the information that can help us expand, can help us grow. So it's sacred on the level that we can work with it to expand. That's been my journey. It's part of why I'm passionate about sharing it. We can expand into our full selves, and we can start to connect with the universal aspects of the geometry, right? There's nothing in our reality that doesn't have a geometric pattern. And so tapping into those shapes and those universal patterns helps dissolve the illusion of separation. It helps us to build a sense of interconnectivity and unity consciousness. So really, these shapes are fundamental to shifting our paradigms about how we feel about ourselves, worldviews, getting along with humans. It really can create an expanded, loving state that I have found makes it easier to be here on this planet. So I'd like to get into showing you just some of the basic shapes, giving you an overview about how it all works together. And I think the images really help. So I am not able to share my screen yet, Waxela. If you can, I'm not sure how to shift that.
Okay, you should be able to now if you accept co-host.
Okay, great. So I'll just jump into the PowerPoint here. And so what we're talking about when I'm mentioning shifting paradigms is we're learning to move beyond what we see in this third dimensional reality. We're shifting into that understanding that everything is energetic, that everything has a pattern that can be felt with our intuition and known with our higher senses, right? We're moving into a non-linear state of consciousness, and we're moving into new realities. And I love this little slide because we can sit there and go, oh, these are some shapes. I'm looking at some geometry, how pretty. But this information and geometry in and of itself can change your reality. It can just blow your mind, right? And that's the idea. We want to open up. We want to create new neural pathways. And these shapes can help guide us into a new understanding of the world we live in. So some of the fundamental shapes, these are things that we're all familiar with. These are patterns that are in nature. These are patterns that are part of our world. And this is a beautiful shape called the phi ratio, and it's this harmonic spiral. And I feel bad for bringing in a hurricane. I have a hurricane into the presentation here, but it's the spiraling patterns that we see everywhere. And part of why I like to do these presentations is because these are all shapes that they're all around us all the time. But the more we bring our consciousness, our conscious awareness to them, the more we are building that connection with the natural world, staying connected to ourselves. And so I'm just going to sort of be highlighting the things that we already know. This isn't new, but bringing our awareness is an activation, right? It's its own activation. And so just reminding how everything has this fundamental spiraling pattern. It's a harmonic ratio that adds and subtracts to itself, and it's the only proportion, it's the only equation that only needs 2 integers, right? Let me, I'm going to go to explaining what the phi ratio is in a second. But this harmonic proportion, it has a direct relationship with itself because it's expanding, it's adding on to itself. You're not bringing in any other numbers or equations. You're simply, it's connected to itself in either an expansive way or a contractive way. And we see it on cosmological scales, and we see it on small scales on our planet, and we see it in ourselves. The phi ratio is the structure of our DNA, right? So this is, it's as above, so below, as the universe, so the soul, right? This is all connected, showing the larger scale and the quantum scale, right? So this ratio, it takes a minute to get used to. I'm going to talk about the numbers, but there's the golden spiral, this flowing, we would say divine feminine or right-brained aspect of the shape. And then there's this structured, more linear, left-brained partner to the flow, right? So this shape represents the aspects of the divine feminine, the divine masculine. It's this perfect harmony and that brings us together. So with the supportive structure that allows for that spiral to infinitely move in the universe is a mathematic equation. I've had a bunch of people in classes going, are we doing math? Are we doing geometry? I'm not up for any math. And I'm not either. I don't focus on the math or the equations at all. I'm in the metaphysical side of the phenomenon, but it deserves recognition. It is a fundamental aspect of understanding the geometry. Simply to know that this equation is fundamental and basic in a way. Here's what I mean. It's adding on itself. It's, if you notice the pattern, it's 1 and 2 is 3, 2 and 3 is 5. It's this pattern of the 2 previous integers adding to each other to create the third. So you've got this example of 3 and 5 is 8, 5 and 8 is 13, on and on and on, infinitely. And here's the thing, this is such a cool thing. We are that ratio. We are that pattern. You see the segments of the finger here in our bones. We've got, the segment of 2 to 3 that results in the 5, these center parts of the finger, and then the 3 and the 5, create the metatarsals and this beautiful relationship. And it's everywhere in our body. If you begin to connect with that ratio of the balance, it's infinitely fascinating to me. And connecting with that outward geometric pattern can help us remember that we are geometric patterns, and within that memory is a way to access balance, right? We can access these states, these harmonic states that reflect the perfection of the geometric patterns, right? So the ratio is, we've got segment B, which is 1. So 1 segment to segment A, which is 1.618. So it's not a 1 to 2 ratio. This is a 1 to 1.618. And that relationship creates this infinite pattern. It's the relationship, it contains the harmonic, it contains the equations. I go on and on about it, but it's really extraordinary. I could find examples after examples in the body where that ratio of 1 to 1.618, it's the hand to the elbow, but it's also the fingertips to the elbow, and then down and across to our shoulders. It's in the height and the proportions. So all of that is to say, the geometry is alive within us, and the geometry is alive in our world, and mostly with iconic imagery and symbolism, but also, some of the more enduring pieces, you can find this ratio woven in somehow. And it's also in our architecture. It's in the more iconic imagery and structures that we see over time. And these buildings, these architecture, you know, I want to say like infamous. These are the structures and the buildings that we know, and they influence our psyche, and they are so powerful over time because they incorporate this balanced proportion. And it's a thing that we wouldn't even recognize, like we would not put that together. This is all invisible resonance, right? When we realize that there are harmonic proportions in, you know, used in art, architecture, music, you know, for reasons, for very significant reasons, there's conscious use of this proportion. So the phi is one of the fundamental patterns. It's got this incredible equation. I can't stop too long on this, but just to make a note of how extraordinary it is, this is the equation I mentioned. 1 and 1 is 2, 1 and 2 and the 3, 2 and 3 and 5, and on and on. And we read it as we would from left to right. Here's the fascinating part. You can also read this equation down from top to bottom, and it's going to be the same thing. 2 and 3 is 5, and 5 and 8 is 13. That seems fascinating enough. But then if you look at the first column, you can do that as well with this column. 2 and 3 is 5, and 3 and 5 is 8, all the way down to infinity. That's fascinating as well. But then you've got the third column, the central column. You can add this equation left to right and top down in 3 different ways. And this blows my mind. I mean, this is part of what is so exciting, is the significance is in the numbers and the equations, because that speaks to a larger orchestration. It speaks to a divine interpretation and a divine structure. The sort of what's the larger source that's given us this this platform to operate from. And the math is definitely worth noting. I have to shout out to the engineers and mathematicians who the geometry is infinitely satisfying to. The art, the architecture, the math, cosmology, quantum physics, everything can be explored through a geometric lens, right? And that's to say that there's the relationship between all of the geometries. So the phi weaves us into the next fundamental shape of the pentagon and the pentagram. And you can see here the ratio, right? Here's the 1 and the 1.618 segment. And it just, to me, starts to get really fascinating how you can find the interrelationship of the different shapes, the different harmonics, right? This is the pentagon and the pentagram. And all these different segments have the measurements of the phi, of that same ratio. And again, the coordinates, the angles, the vectors, all of it is so fascinating. And I do like to do this presentation to simply say, here's, planting a seed, and go forth and prosper with the geometry, with the math, and do some explorations, because it's infinitely fascinating. And then bringing your awareness to the natural world and how much the geometries are everywhere and influencing us on such subtle and not so subtle realms. So we've got the natural world, and then we've got the man-made world, right? And so part of how the geometry is it's so powerful with our own psyches because we are the geometry, and it's very easy to use it to influence our psyche. And so part of why I like to have the conversation is because bringing your awareness to how these shapes have been used to influence us is an invitation to reclaim your consciousness, to see, to start to notice and understand how these shapes have been used. And this is the Vesica Pisces. I meant to name it here. You can see it in so much of the advertising and marketing. But this shape is so fundamental. This is the basic building blocks of union of our psyche, of male-female consciousness coming together to birth new realities, new potentials. This is such a fundamental shape, and it's really been used to support, I could say support programs that we run, but this was an organically feminine, divine feminine shape of the birthing of this, the Vesica Pisces being this central shape that's created by the 2 circles that come together. And we had this divine feminine symbolism that was basically used to influence on such subtle realms, to influence our everyday waking reality, right? Moving from that matriarchal interpretation to a more patriarchal foundation of our society. So just starting to build an awareness of how the geometry influences, and then we can start to take back that subconscious programming, right? Because we know from Dr. Bruce Lipton that 5% of our waking consciousness is guided by the waking consciousness, and then 95% of our reality is guided by our subconscious programming. And so the geometry speaks to the subconscious programming, and by working with it, you're actually bringing more into your conscious reality. So that's a big part of it, is, you know, building our ability to move consciously in the world and to be connected to ourselves. And you've got the phi ratio connected to the pentagon. You've got the pentagon up here, and then the Vesica Pisces in the center here of the two circles. And all of that leads us into the hexagon, which is another fundamental shape. And all of this is to just remind us of the beauty of the potential that that we can access, right? The harmony is right in front of us. This is a water crystal. This is the work of Masaru Emoto. Many of us are familiar with his experiments and findings of how our frequencies, how we speak to, you know, how the energetics influence the outer world, right? So this was loving words, speaking to water, and creating the most beautiful expression represented by the geometry, right? This is this extraordinary water crystal, and it's a reflection of the energetics. It's how we see the energetics. It's how we can start to measure the influence of energy. And so it's so important, you know, it just highlights how influential we are, how influential our energetics are on the external world, and then subsequently our internal world. And thank goodness for his work. And so we've got all of these examples of hexagons, the geometry. It's such an intelligent way to hold information, right? We see it in the HoniB, we see it in crystals, we see it everywhere in our world, because it's such a beautiful strategy for transmitting, transducing information and energy. So again, this is about bringing awareness to the natural world, and then that hexagonal pattern is part of the foundation of the seed of life, right? You have a six-sided shape, and part of the reason we call it the seed of life and then the flower of life is that this shape contains all other shapes. These simple 7 circles contain the fundamental building blocks for all of our reality. It's got the phi ratio, it's got the pentagon, the pentagram, it's got polygons, it's got all of the images, and then it combines them in a way that helps us access the, helps us access the harmonics. It's connected to us. I'm going to show you in a second how our biology is the seed of life. So it's these 7 circles, they come together. I love to share how to draw the geometry with everyone, and it's basically about bringing 7 circles together and then building on that to create the flower of life, right? So there's this inner relationship with simple circles, with the void, right? Building on itself, and then building on itself and making its presence known on a universal scale, but for us on a planetary scale, right? This is the other thing that makes it sacred for us, is that the shape, the patterns are everywhere. They are found in sacred sites. They are intrinsically woven into places that relate to our highest our highest wisdom traditions, our highest and most revered cultural symbolism, right? So starting to look around, seeing the flower of life, seeing the seed of life, seeing how it's used and why it would be used for some of the more sacred sites. You know, if you think about, one second on that, if you think about Judaism and the star tetrahedron, right, which is also our Merkaba, this beautiful geometry that is so fundamental to our structure. You know, we've got this, finding this pattern externally everywhere, culturally, representing universal intelligence in a way, like where did this geometry come from? How did we get these patterns that are everywhere, suggesting that there is a larger intelligence, there is a larger design, because our bodies are also part of that larger design, right? Here's the seed of life replicating the, you know, first, the very first moments of conception and the bifurcation of the cells to go on and create the seed of life and the flower of life. And really all of this is to remind us that we are the geometry, and the geometry is everywhere, which is part of the sacred aspect. It brings us all together. It harmonizes our own systems. And so by working with it, we can really tap into that global level, that universal level, connecting with the reality that everything has a geometric pattern. And so I like to talk about the geometry. I like to help us remember. You know, all of this is really a school of remembering in terms of like all of these different modalities and different teachings that we're learning. And so, well, what I would love to do is, that's kind of my snapshot about the geometry. Could we have a little back and forth and just have some curiosities arise from that? Is that possible? More real-time dialogue? Because I know you're a big fan, and we've talked about combining breath work and geometry, and there's so many ways that different disciplines can come together, you know, and combine the strengths that are in the geometry as well as in the modality that they work with. So I'm just wondering, do you have, I know the geometry is, you're such a big fan. Was there a way that you were turned on to it, or can you speak a little bit about your relationship with it?
Yeah, absolutely. I love how you're turning the tables and interviewing me now. That's so fun. So I have honestly, I can't remember when I first started really like interacting with sacred geometry. It's not like I can remember. I know that I have always, in my memory, I've always been attracted to it. Many years ago, it's as if it started communicating with me and interacting with me on a more personal level. And so for anyone that's like, what do you mean geometry communicating with you? I invite you to just kind of open up to, just like HoniB did the light language and some vocal frequencies. Think of sacred geometry as a frequency that you can interact with, that can inform your body. And I think because I'm such a feeler and I'm so experiential, I started having these interactions with sacred geometry that were feeling and experiential. And I'd look at a geometry and I'd be like, whoa, that does something to the way I feel in my body. And then as time went on, I started to experience interactions with geometric beings. So and I'm very open about being a galactic shaman and a visitee since a very young age of multidimensional beings. And so these beings come to me, and I find them to be Andromedan, and they communicate in sacred geometries, such as the Sri Yantra or a tesseract. Like I had an experience with this gorgeous tesseract, which is it's the best explanation I have for it, because I don't even have a name for how multi-dimensional this geometry was. It was not third dimensional, so it's hard to find a third dimensional geometry that even can explain it. But it was communicating with me, and it was of Christ consciousness, and it was delivering this Christ consciousness frequency to me, and it was an activation, and it was showing me, mirroring me, myself in it, and it was so empowering and expanding. And that it was that experience that I had it probably a couple of years ago that I'm just like, wow, it's so much more than I even realized before that.
Yeah, and I wanted to, thank you. I wanted to just have a moment of connection, because for me, slides are their own, a presentation is its own experience. But the relational piece of like, what has it done for you? How has geometry shaped, changed your life or activated you? But it's more to say that the geometry, as you were saying, it's part of an activation. It can be so powerful, and it can really shift from a localized consciousness, and then a planetary consciousness, and then a galactic consciousness. And I do want to put out a little bit of a disclaimer, because the geometry led me, it led me in my expansion. And so I was I would say compulsively drawing. I just wanted to be around it all the time. I just wanted to have it with me. And then that drawing led people to say, wow, you should have an art installment and put that art up. And so then this was the geometry sharing and beaconing its intelligence. And then I just ended up talking about it. People wanted to learn about it. And so then that led to teaching and this level of expansion that I was a therapist in the mental health world, and I knew nothing of sacred geometry or galactic consciousness or channeling or any of these things. And so I left that world and I moved into a world of, infinite potential, because I had no structure or no identity. And the geometry guided me. It created a structure for my recalibration and for my restructuring, so to speak. I am so grateful to it, because as I drew it and talked about it and taught it, it really guided my evolution. It was the driving force. And so what I want to speak to is that if you're called to it, as Waxela was saying, if it speaks to you, if you're feeling that pull, know that it will lead to your expansion. Know that it will encourage very subtly, very quietly, you connecting with the higher you that has this grand plan for why you came here. And so never thought I would be teaching, never thought I would be presenting, and never thought that I would be regularly interacting with advanced civilizations and going to see and visit my off-planet aspects who are working on interplanetary and federations that are navigating galactic stability and diplomacy with different kinds of races, and rebalancing and harmonizing the earth in her healing process. And also humanity. I think you said at the beginning, Waxela, the earth and the message for you is that the planet will be fine, right? She's been beat up by us, but it's really like humanity. A lot of the geometry is this gift to humanity where we need to come back in balance, and then the relationship with the natural world will heal itself organically. So the geometry can expand you into ways that you never saw coming. It's simply part of a tool of activation. And so thank you, because I knew that there were some things that I wanted to speak to in terms of how powerful it can be when we start to work with these universal patterns, how amazing it can be to open to new levels of consciousness. And I'll say it gently, but there's not, the geometry can make the process gentle, but your entire world can restructure, right? When you start to use these patterns, you're also signaling to advanced civilizations, to your higher self. You're signaling that you are ready for more. And in particular, the Arcturians talk about how if you're working with geometry, if you're working with crop circles, which it's a natural relationship because many of the genuine circles are related to geometric patterns, you are saying, I'm ready. I want my telepathy to grow. I want my psychic abilities to come online. I know that I'm more, and I know that I'm a multidimensional being, and I know that these are steps I can take to access those capacities. So thanks. I knew I needed a little a nudge into the expanded states. So there's the basics of learning like what this means. I've been presenting for a long time, and a lot of times we can't move towards the more esoteric realms without really understanding that this is a basic physical structural reality, based in shapes, and then that takes us to an understanding of the universality of the sacred geometry. So,
yes.
yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful presentation, Nadi. Thank you. And I like that piece that you said that we are the geometry.
Mm-hmm.
I think when you start to work with it and really get that we are made up of these geometrical patterns, not just our physicality, but the patterns that inform our bodies and create who we are as mind, body, spirit, complex beings and multidimensional beings. And then you start to work with them. It really is endless. And we have a lot of fun talking about this. And just for a little heads up for the future, Nadi and I are planning to do a course together on sacred geometry coming up. So stay tuned for that. If you're on my list, WaxelaSananda.com, you will find you'll find updates for that. But before you go, I want to make sure everyone knows you have an amazing sacred geometry drawing course. And I haven't taken the whole thing, but I have looked at it, and it is extensive and it's so cool. And I look forward to doing it. And as a free gift, you're offering that first, let's see, how many modules? It's I believe four modules, and you're offering the first module free. And then you're offering a really special deal on the rest of the course. So go ahead and tell us about that.
Oh, thank you. So I have an 8-module course, which online you can take, and it covers a lot of the shapes that Waxela also mentioned. It guides how to draw the tesseract, how to draw heptagons, septagons, and many of the polygons that are the basis of mystery schools. And it goes further into accessing those esoteric metaphysical aspects of the geometries. And there's the platonic solids and the dodecahedrons and the Metatron's cube, and it's just infinitely fascinating to me. So I wanted to open it up to everyone and share that first class. There's 2 parts to every class. One is an informational bit, kind of like what we did today. And then there's a second aspect, which is drawing guidance. And the courses come with PDFs, sequence steps, so that you can go on and keep drawing is the encouragement, because actually drawing it is really an important part of activating yourself. There's a relational experience that activates the energetics that the geometry carries, which is why I put the course together. So the free offering is the first module, and then which is the seed of life, and then I believe it's Metatron's cube, and then the dodecahedron, and then the seed of life. So it's those four first modules, and then there's the other 4 if you want to keep going.
I was muted. Thank you so much, Nadi. So again, for anyone who wants to collect the free gift, and I did put the course link in the Zoom. Maybe I might have time to put that in the YouTube as well, but go to WaxelaSananda.com/AOA6, get registered for the Alchemy of Ascension Season 6 Summit, and you'll be able to access all of that there. And I just appreciate you so much. I love what you bring. I could listen to you talk about sacred geometry all day. It's so fascinating, and it really is a multidimensional world. And I'm so glad that you brought it and shared it with everybody today. Thank you, Nadi.
Well, thank you for the opportunity. I mean, this is such a launch point. I mean, this is 20 minutes of an overview of a life-changing discipline. So the introduction is really like, please, whether it's with me, come draw, come experience things, or just go look at it, go learn about it more. And I really feel privileged to be able to be a messenger of the, the transformational tool that it is. So thank you, Waxela, so much. And thank you, everybody. It's really beautiful. I see some familiar names and faces, and it's wonderful to be with everybody. So thank you.
Thank you so much. All right. Welcome. I'm so glad to see you and have you here.
Thank you.
And more sacred geometry in the background there. Beautiful. And you look wonderful. So thank you for being present today. And it's Benedicte. Am I saying it correctly?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay,
Thanks.
wonderful.
Yes.
And I think you've been on Portal to Ascension multiple times before, but it is, again, it's your first time with me on the Alchemy of Ascension. So welcome, and I'm excited to have you share with us today. And so let me share a little bit about who Meg is and what you're up to in the world, and then we'll have you jump in. Meg Benedicte is a quantum healer, spiritual teacher, New Earth way shower, and creator of the quantum access modality. Working closely with Archangel Metatron, Meg teaches ascension training and protocols at her Quantum Access Academy. Meg is an avid explorer of the ancient mystery school tradition and offers quantum access to clients, students, and global audiences to enhance living soul purpose and embodiment. And I know, Meg, you have been working with Ascension for a very long time, and you are an adept and a master. And today you're going to share with everyone about how to accelerate your ascension.
Yes, yes. So I did prepare a little mini presentation of a webinar I'm going to be teaching in November. So I'm going to bring that up, Waxela, on the share screen.
Okay, let me give you access.
Okay, thank you. So as Waxela mentioned, I had my spiritual awakening almost 30 years ago in 1994. And since then, I've been going through this process like everyone else when you go through your spiritual awakening. I had several visitations directly with Archangel Metatron, and so he has been, in a way, my guide through all of this and helping me navigate how to work through all that was happening. And over time, I began to understand his technique. So I always say this is not really, I'm not teaching my technique. This is actually Metatron's gift to all of us during this time. So I teach this technique. It's called quantum access. But let's just kind of go into what's happening right now. And I wanted to focus this piece of the presentation on the resurrection spiral and how to activate the resurrection spiral using Metatron's Q. Okay, so spiritual awakening. You may have been working through your own spiritual awakening for years, or you may be new to it. So I kind of, kept that in mind. What is spiritual awakening? So instead of the left brain analytical mind controlling your thoughts, feelings, and reactions, an internal shift happens. It occurs. It could happen over time. Gradually, mine was immediate. It was a full body Kundalini activation during the Northridge earthquake in January 94. And it began to open everything up. So you begin to observe reality through like a different lens or vantage point or perspective. Now you, instead of being under the control of the left brain ego, you are observing, consciously watching the ego and your daily life through this higher perspective. So what happens during the spiritual awakening is these veils thin between the physical and the spiritual realms. And mindfulness is your awareness of what is going on in the present moment. You're detached, you're neutral, without judgment, you're just being the observer. And spiritual awakening is life-changing. Although I've been doing it for almost 30 years, I am completely different than who I was. So you begin to evolve from living as this kind of temporal human ego, and you begin to live as the divinity that you are, as the soul as you are. So you'll go through major transformations in the mind, in the emotions, in the body, the physicality, as well as your perspective, your relationships, home, vocation, your desires and passions. Everything updates to more of the soul. So some of the signs of this spiritual awakening, and you become aware of what is out of balance and unhealed, traumatized, what's obstructing your ability to live as a divine human. This became very clear as I was living as the observer now. Instead of it controlling my reaction, I'm actually saying, okay, I need to master this within myself. So I'm starting to pay attention to all the signs, especially if you start to watch what's showing up in your outer reality, because in a way it's called the mirror effect. Everything out there is mirroring back what's running in you. So you pay attention, you watch, where is this interference? Where am I experiencing core wounding? Where are these, debilitating patterns just continuing to cycle and repeat? Where do I have mind programming running that isn't even my own thoughts? So you begin to watch, observe. I journaled. I started putting it all down, all the signs that were showing up. And you're no longer kind of just in that, kind of robotic state of being. Now you're like, well, wait a minute, I don't want to live like this anymore. And so you feel very compelled to start to let go of everything that doesn't resonate with your soul truth or support living in higher dimensional frequencies. And so this is what's called a delayering process. Think of it like peeling the layers of the onion. You're working your way down. You're getting all this kind of interference, energetic interference, psychological, all of it. You start moving the layers out. So you're getting down to your own spiritual essence, your own soul light body. Spirit communicates to us through dreams and inspirations and visions to guide and support higher purpose and direction. Well, when we're locked in all these layers, we can't even connect or hear or sense or see spirit. So as you're increasing your energy frequency higher and higher, the magnetic buffers that are in your field, time density that's locking you in, and the energetic veils, they all gradually dissolve. And it enables deeper soul connection, more energy transmissions, intuitive receptivity, opening up your receptivity, be able to receive what the universe is sending you, and more psychic ability. So why is all this happening? Why are we even having spiritual awakening in the first place? So I always go bigger picture and work my way down to the details. So the bigger picture, we're currently in a global system reset. We're moving out of a top-down, think of it kind of like a triangle, pyramidal, hierarchical, patriarchal power system, to this new earth circular collaborative operating system. These are very different systems. So that's why everything is in flux and in chaos and in transition. That not only are we, but the whole world is. And spiritual awakening is a step-by-step process of upliftment into a higher dimensional access and soul embodiment. So as we're going through this shift and this global reset, we're also going through our own personal spiritual awakening as well. So all souls who are incarnating on Gaia at this time have this incredible opportunity to actively ascend into quantum consciousness. That is incredible. I mean, that is astounding. So the more that we really understand this and not get swept up into the chaos of the transition, but begin to really center and focus in on this opportunity we all have right now. So during the global resets, we're also receiving incoming plasma galactic light. This is pouring in. If you watch the Schumann resonance, you watch the solar flare activity, we are receiving plasma galactic light that's activating the dormant DNA. This has all been designed in you before you even incarnated, your own soul light body, your own soul DNA, your own soul operating system. It's all there waiting for this global reset, waiting for the incoming activating light frequencies and your spiritual awakening. You start putting that all together. Well, what happens? You begin to get triggered for internal clearing of old density and trauma. So it's a lot of purging. I've been doing this for 30 years. I'm still purging. Okay, just know that this is a lot coming out, especially if you have multiple earthly incarnations. All of that is held in your field. All of that is getting affected. And so we're purging layers of toxic energies from the physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual bodies. So when you think about that, that's why we need a spiritual practice to assist ourselves through this process, to assist ourselves through this purging, to, in a way, come in and give ourselves the self-care and the protocols to assist us through this really powerful process that's happening right now. So it does require some kind of involvement. This is not a passive process at all. This is for those who are not doing any kind of spiritual practice. That intensity can only just make you feel worse. So it's stepping in and understanding from the bigger picture what's happening and starting to work with your own energetics, work with your own spiritual connection. So during this global reset, spiritual protocols are essential to maintaining your inner equilibrium. This is probably why you're drawn to investigate this and learn more about it. Follow what you resonate with, right? Your spiritual practice should not be an escape from life's challenges. It is not bypassing. Your spiritual practice is to support you through this shift, through this global reset. It should be a deeper exploration of your inner transformation and soul connection. Think of it as time, 3D time density disconnected us from soul. We're using the protocols to reconnect to soul. That's what the whole spiritual awakening is about. So you need some type of grounding. I do it every morning. I get up, ground to the crystalline grids of our new earth timeline. So using whatever is your grounding process, I go out in nature at least 4 or 5 times a day, a week. And depending on the schedule and weather, getting into the 0 point field of nature, getting your feet onto earth. Because when you're metabolizing plasma light into the physical body, well, think about it. That's an electrical current coming in. You need to connect your feet chakra magnets to Gaia's crystalline light grid work if you're trying to open up your light body and ascend into 5th dimension and higher. Without daily grounding, you literally could overload, overstimulate your circuits and create a lot of body tension. I also supplement with silica for the grounding and the ability to run electrical currents through your own neural network, through your own light body. Okay, daily grounding is so important. You also need to contain your field in an orb of light because we are physical bodies in 3rd dimension, astral plane, 4th dimension. There's a lot of interference going on there. So down in these lower, more physical dimensions, it's important to have an auric shields in place, have your own personal boundaries in place, and then you maintain them. As we go up into 5D and higher, we're not as disturbed by astral interference, and so we don't have to be so contained or in our own private space. This was a bit of a conundrum for my mind when I first started working with my field. Lower dimensions, physical realm, astral plane, get yourself in an orb of light. So when I ground onto the crystal grid, I just always visualize and command the orb of light around me. The other thing too that I've noticed when I first started working with my own field was my aura was pretty, it was like Swiss cheese, you know, it was pretty damaged. And so we want to start to heal, mend, seal a strong, powerful auric field and not be leaking out or enmeshing with others and also allowing violation. So I mentioned Metatron's cube is the gift that never stops giving. So as I've worked with Metatron, began to understand he's the guardian angel of Gaia's acceleration into quantum consciousness. Metatron's gifted humanity with the sacred geometry. Metatron's cube, as you see here, as you see behind me. This sacred geometry accelerates personal ascension. Metatron's cube activates the quantum vortex to unwind time compression and particle density, to remove the veils, to increase your energy frequencies and enable the descension of the soul into the body. So embedded within Metatron's cube, as you can see, is the star tetrahedron that activates the Merkaba torus in your own light body and starting to create a quantum continuum. The chakra channel, this operates as the main channel of your Merkaba Taurus. It's your soul's light body. And through the gradual clearing of density, stuck trauma, memory from the chakra centers and the channel, you're evolving, you're ascending, you're rising up into higher dimensional frequencies. This chakra channel, this is, as you can see, all the different chakra centers correlate to dense emotional, mental, trapped energy that prevents the soul connection. This is your channel. The channel's been all stuck up with all this stuff that we have to clear. And so as we're working with Metatron's technique, we open up the chakra channel. We start to clear out all the shame, the blame, the grief, all of this that's been preventing our merging with the soul. When you regularly purge the chakra channel, you gradually open your communication network, because each of those chakras are antennas, right? This is your sensory tower. So as you open up your communication network with your higher self, you're beginning to build internal soul embodiment in your pillar of light. This is the home for the soul and the human to unite as one. All right, how do we do that? So again, working with Metatron's cube, we activate what's called the resurrection spiral. The golden ratio phi spiral, it's the universal key of Genesis. It's producing the most constructive energy wave interference of a continual renewal. Most energy wave interference cancels each other out. But in the golden ratio phi spiral, it is a continual spiral. And so this eternal spiral of ether vortexes relies on sacred geometry and fractality to maintain stability in the universe. We're going to use this on our bodies as well, on our fields. It's the fractal phenomenon that propels the quantum vortex in a continual spin. By activating the resurrection spiral with Metatron's cube, you can eliminate time barriers, release incongruent energy. We spin it outwards. It's called the inflow outflow. We spin out, we clear out, and we integrate soul energy inwards to continual delayering and embodiment process. When you use the quantum vortex and the resurrection spiral, you're training your atoms to spin anti-clockwise. This whole spiraling vortex energy is anti-clockwise. It's the feminine spin, and it is increasing oscillation towards the speed of light. It's the reverse of time density. When we go clockwise, everything compresses down into rigid density, time density. When we go anti-clockwise, everything opens out and frees us, and we start literally vibrating at the speed of light. Resurrection spiral. I do this every day. Okay, so we have a couple minutes. I want to take you through a demonstration of activating the resurrection spiral. I have here as well, we can go back to this after we're done, but there's a free download for you of an MP3 guided activation of the resurrection spiral for you today. But let's go ahead and come back here. We'll go back to just focusing on Metatron's cube, focusing on the spiral effect. Okay, so to do this, let's go ahead and take a couple deep breaths. I've been thinking. Let's just kind of come down from the mind, come more into the chakra channel, into your feeling body, into the breath, the heartbeat, into your core center. And then visualize. So we're using this right brain of ours. This is, most people haven't used much of their right brain yet. I certainly had, and I had to activate it more. Right brain is your holographic mind. It's what you use to visualize. It's what you use to command the energy flowing in and out, up and down. So we're going to use more of our psychic, intuitive, visualizing right brain. Imagine you're moving your chi down the leg channels to the feet chakras and lock your feet magnets right onto the crystal base at the bottom of your field and onto the crystalline grid of our new Earth timeline. So we're now running down and in, grounding in, locking in, getting stable, getting anchored, getting grounded. Okay, good. You may even feel like your energy is moving down into your hips and root, getting more into your lower body. All right, let's connect to spirit. So from the heart, we connect to Divine Mother, Father, Source Creator. Connect to your original God spark, your master soul and soul family, and home star. Connect to your spirit team of angels and guides and master teachers, the shamans, the elders, the protectors. We're connecting to Gaia and to Mother Nature and the nature spirits, calling in the devas, the fairies, the elementals, so we can do alchemy with our beloved Archangel Metatron, who's stepping in. He's embedding Metatron's cube sacred geometry under your feet in your crystal base, under your feet chakras. You see the image behind me. We've got the outer 6 circles, the inner 6 circles, the central 13th circle. You put your feet in the center. Your own light, your own chi, your own energy starts to turn it on and activate the sacred geometry of Metatron's cube under your feet. I use the breath to move the energy. You can start to begin to move the chi up and down and in and out. And those 12 circles of light start to rise up as pillars of light around your body and aura. And they're operating like tuning forks. They're humming and toning with the 12 sound waves of the 12 dimensions. We hear this as the phi harmonics in our human ears, earthly ears, as the sacred sound of Om. And so as those pillars, those tuning forks are oming around you, they begin to start to move and they start to rotate right to left, anti-clockwise, front to back, right to left, anti-clockwise rotation. All right, there they go. They're starting to spin up. And as they begin to accelerate the spin, because we're fractally expanding, going faster and faster, they begin to blend and merge and become a vortex of diamond light spinning around your body and aura. Ooh, there it goes. Excellent. And it's starting to open and expand your field up and out into the higher dimensions. Just breathe into it, opening out, expanding. Good. And then it begins to go even faster towards the speed of light, anti-clockwise, and beginning to dissolve and remove the veils, time density, time barriers, opening all the way out to the quantum level. Ooh, let it release through you. Ooh, there it goes. Ooh, opening us up to both the physical realm and the spiritual realm simultaneously. And it allows us to come more inside and focus into the chakra channel, chakra pillar, running right up the center of your body. It's the main conduit of your Merkaba torus. As Metatron's cube is spinning and active, it's starting to communicate with your star tetrahedron Merkaba inside your light body to begin to activate it, turn it on. Oh, just keep breathing into it. Also, let's go ahead and activate the resurrection spiral. So we're turning back down to Metatron's cube at your feet, grounding onto it. And we begin to activate a second spiral rising up from Metatron's cube. It's a tighter spiral. It's still anti-clockwise. It's rising up to your root chakra. This is the resurrection spiral. So as it spirals upwards, it's doing a clearing. It's doing a spin out. Okay, so rising up to the root chakra, spiraling up all the chakra centers, clearing, moving out density, trauma, memory as it rises up the chakra channel, opening your channel as a direct pathway all the way up to your higher self at the top of the 12th chakra, 12th gate, all the way up. Opening, clearing, flushing out, spinning out, releasing out into source light of transmutation light. Opening your channel, the resurrection spiral is moving upwards, activating more of the dimensional frequencies of these higher chakras. And as we go all the way up to the top, connect to your beloved higher self at the 12th chakra. 12th gateway, I always do like a heart-to-heart bond with my higher self. Your higher self is your guardian, your guardian and gate keeper of your channel. Oh, there we go, connecting. So we have to rebuild this connection, heart to heart bond. If it helps, you can envision an infinity of light from your heart to your higher self heart. Oh, and your higher self opens that 12th gateway. And this is how we connect to our divinity, connecting to your divine soul presence. Your soul is made of light and sound, connecting to your soul's signature light and your soul sound waves, your tones, your harmonics, your frequencies. Get a lock on your soul light frequencies. And we're going to reverse, using the vortex now to spin, coming down. You're an open channel now, breathing down and in, soul light frequencies coming down. This is the inflow, breathe in, coming down the crown, filling into all the chakras in your body. Soul light frequency, breathe in, fill in, spin in, receive in. Ooh, there goes, soul light frequency. This is your soul stream coming all the way down to the lower human chakras, into the root pelvic floor, like your soul is sitting into your hips. Good. Filling you inside, particularly in your pillar of light. Let's send that soul stream into your heart center, into the heart crystal that runs your Merkaba torus, and fill the heart crystal. Crystals intensify, they amplify. Ooh, there you go. And as we blast it with your soul light frequencies into the heart crystal, ooh, it intensifies like a big starburst of your soul light in all direction at the heart crystal, feeding into the Merkaba torus. Oh, there it goes. Good. Activating more of that crystal portal, crystal engine of the Merkaba. And as this is all lighting up, intensifying, activating, continue to flow down, all the way down to your feet chakras. Oh, and your feet chakras are magnets locking all the activations to maintain and continue within you. This is why we're activating more of that quantum continuum. There we go. Feet locking it in, grounding it in. You can tap on your arms, your legs, making this earthbound, bringing it into the physicality, bringing more of your divine soul and human to merge as one within your pillar of light. Ooh, there it goes. And as it locks in, grounds in, takes hold, merges in. That completes our activation of the resurrection spiral. And so it is. And we'll go right back here to the free gifts. If you're interested in working with this on your own, you can download an ebook of some proven strategies for your ascension, as well as the MP3 file recording of the resurrection spiral activation. Also, you're welcome to go to my YouTube channel. There's several years of newer ascension activation videos there that you can work with. We just did the equinox activation and the Lionsgate activation. We've got the eclipse activations coming soon and later October 25th. Also, I'm going to be teaching, this is just a little mini sample of what I'll be teaching coming up in November 30th, a live 3-hour webinar of all that we just touched on and much more. So you're welcome to register for that as well if you find this resonant for you. Okay, I'll take it back to Waxela.
Thank you so much, Meg. That was a wonderful activation, and really felt that expansion. And I love the way that you brought, there's so much information all in one, transmission. So I think for some people it would probably be helpful to go and do that again, listen to the recording, go back and get yourself in a comfortable place where you can really sink in and experience it multiple times if you'd like to, because that was so powerful and there was so much information contained in that.
I kind of throw it all at you there.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, and I loved so many of the things that you brought up, presencing the experience of spiritual awakening for people. That is something that so many people are going through right now.
Yes.
I know people that are, it's almost like popcorn, popping open, and then they're like, oh my gosh, what do I do with this? It's really
Yes.
intense.
Yes.
So we need people like you to help people understand, how do I navigate this new territory and energy?
Yes, because it is kind of shocking, and and it's so new. And I know for myself too, it was very unsettling and kind of disorienting and all of that. And so, thank God, I was able to. I'm a walk-in soul, so I came in with my channel open, so I was able to get direct guidance on what I needed to do. Didn't mean that it was any easier. It just meant like, okay, I have to do these steps, and that was then over time I really started to understand the whole process and how to apply all the different steps. We just, I threw a lot at you, and that is just the start of it. There is so much more that this quantum vortex can do for you, and the resurrection spiral for you do. That was just a little get started with taster there.
Wonderful. And we have a few more minutes. Bridget, I don't think Bridget's on yet. Bridget, if you are on, let me know, but I don't see your name, so I don't think she's here yet. So if you don't mind, I would love to ask you a question about, certainly I love walk-ins. I've been surrounded with them my whole life pretty much. And for anybody listening that this might be a new concept, could you do sort of a nutshell version of what it means to be a walk-in?
Yes, so I think there is actually I'm starting to write a book on this because I think it's a lot of confusion about it. What we just did was a process of bringing the soul in and embodying the soul. So we begin to, in a way, transition away from the ego running, the mind, the heart, the body, the field, the life, and more of following and letting the soul guide the life. So a lot of people think that's walk-in. That is not walk-in. Okay, walk-in is where there has been an agreement prior that a soul is vacating an incarnation, and it gives an opportunity for a visiting soul to step in without having to go through the whole birth canal and all of that. So I came in when she was about 34, and although I was actually in subspace in the field since about 1 year old, but the full Kundalini soul all the way in was at 34. Now, what makes this so challenging, okay, there's like pros and cons to everything, right? So the pros is I didn't come in through the hijacked earth gates. I came in through the actual open channel. And so I was able to maintain no veils. So I was able to come in, hold the communication immediately, and start seeing psychically. Like it was going from just, a corporate career girl, in her 30s all of a sudden, and within days, I'm like, okay, I got to do energy healing. We're going towards 2012. Like everything was pouring into what was my soul blueprint, my soul mission. It's been fixed for almost 30 years. That's it. Now, the pros, okay, that's the pros. The cons is you're in somebody else's body, ego, life plan, soul contracts, karma, disease, ancestral lineage, all right, core wounding, you're in all of their stuff. And so you have to work through that to be able to operate at your full potential. Everybody's working through it. I just had to work through somebody else's. Okay. And so that makes it a little difficult. And then it adds one extra piece that most people don't have who are not walk-ins. I had to decompose all the genetics so I could actually activate my own galactic code and operating system and blueprint. So you go through, in a way, I've had several NDEs, you go through the whole death process, disease process, dying process. It's brutal. I don't recommend it. But for those who do want to actually embody their own Merkaba Taurus light body, you're going to need to decompose the original, what we call the natal soul, the original soul's genetics, history, all of it. I think a lot of walk-ins are not doing that step. I was never going to be satisfied until I did that step. And so I think if that's, you say you know a lot of walk-ins, I'm wondering if they've actually gone. It's taken me almost 30 years to do all that.
Yeah, I'm not sure. That's fascinating. And when you say to decompose, did you, I mean, I know it doesn't come, being a walk-in probably doesn't come with a guidebook. So,
No. So I
how
had
did
my
you,
higher self and Metatron have guided me through every
okay.
step. Yeah, decomposing. So in the quantum, when you're in the quantum vortex, you have to understand that vortex is suspending time, space. So you're in a very powerful alchemical vacuum state where I can actually collapse the genetic code of the natal soul and start igniting my DNA to replace it. It's a very fast, accelerated way of transforming yourself.
That's powerful. And then the information that you're able to bring through is clear and pure, and you don't
Yes.
have to filter it through all of the stuff that natal soul had. Something that I'd like to ask, since we have, since Bridget's not here yet, is what happens to the natal soul when a walk-in comes?
Well, I had to actually help her transition. She wasn't going anywhere. And it took me almost 20 years to get her to go. She was very unevolved. So I had to help her. I cleared her karma. I helped heal her wounds. Like, she got, a lot of benefit from being basically two souls in one body. It was kind of schizophrenic in a lot of ways, but finally helping her relinquish and transition. Now, I had to literally move out of Los Angeles, where her incarnational timeline was, to start breaking it down, breaking it apart, and helping her leave. So that's, again, another question to ask of your walk-in friends. Are they a dual soul, or did they have to help that soul transition, or did that soul actually leave when they came in? Most don't.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And I know that there can be a braid as well, where there's sort of a share, like you alluded to, a time that you felt a little schizophrenic, because there was a braid of two souls in one body.
Yeah.
And I have known people that have that experience. It seems it's a lot to navigate and confusing to the mind.
Very confusing. And people would say they'd see her come in, my eyes would change, my face would change, my energy would drop. She was mean. I mean, it was very clear who was there at that present moment, until I could finally help her heal enough to release and go.
Wonderful. And so was this a pre-incarnational agreement? Did you
Yes.
agree upon this ahead of time? And I think one thing I'd like to clear from people's minds is if they're saying, well, what did you take a body? I'm sure that comes up in people's minds.
So she almost died at 1. And so that was the entry point. And that's when we agreed that I would come in. So she was already starting to relinquish the body and the incarnation. I wasn't planning to actually be here. My soul's actually a guardian angel, and I work from the higher dimensions. But the planet, I don't know, after the harmonic convergence in 87, things were not moving along as planned. And so quite a few, I work with a handful of walk-ins. None of us we're all angelics. None of us were planning to be here. So it's a kind of getting, troops on the ground, helping to really shift the frequency on the planet, and all the light workers, working with thousands of light workers to get them also out of the matrix, out of all the conspiracies, to begin to actually get free and clear with their channel and do what they're here to do. So we lift this whole planet up into 5D to 12D.
Fascinating. I love it. Thank you for sharing that and helping us get a little deeper into the understanding. I find the walk-in phenomena so interesting and important. And I do feel like, it's a different thing, but in embodied ascension, we are inviting larger parts of ourselves into our physical incarnation. And so to understand how to open up, expand, and allow more of ourselves is not the same, but similar to a type of experience, allowing more of ourselves to walk in.
Yes, we're doing the same technique, but it's just who's coming in may be different.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I do see that Bridget is here now. So Meg, thank you so much. That was fascinating.
Thank you for having
Also,
me.
I wanted to say that your artwork is just gorgeous. I find it very activating and opening.
Thank you. I have some great graphic artists that I've been working with them for years because I'm very visual as well. So yes, thank you.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you so much. Really appreciate you. Okay. All right. So that was fun. And now I see, and Bridget, I saw you come in. I just want to make sure, go ahead and say hi so I can find you.
Hello.
There you are.
Hello,
Okay.
hello.
I'm so excited to have you here and see you. So this is, again, not Bridget's first time on Portal to Ascension, but it is your first time on the Alchemy of Ascension. So I love to just kind of share a little bit about your history and what you've been up to. And so Bridget Renee Holliday is a starseed, a channel, multidimensional medium, and a galactic ambassador of unity consciousness. She holds frequencies of unity consciousness and anchors them into the human experience. As an ascension contact specialist, she communicates with the high realms and assists others to expand and embrace those innate connections within themselves. Bridget specializes in mentoring starseeds within their ascension journey to remember who they are beyond the earth experience and that they have trained lifetimes for what they're here on earth to do. And that is so important because sometimes we just need a little help figuring everything out. And so today, Bridget, your subject is Starseed Expansion Catalysts, Consciously Creating New Earth. I am so excited to hear what you have to share with us today. Thank you for being here.
Oh, thank you, Waxela. I'm so happy to be here with you. And thank you to Portal to Ascension. And really thank you to everyone who's here joining us and who will be on the replays. Oh, this has been so amazing so far. I've actually been on Portal to Ascension live listening, and it is so beautiful. And I think it's so synchronistic how all of this has flowed today into what I'm here to talk about, which is what Waxela just announced. So a lot of information has been coming through for all of the people that I communicate with. I'm on an app called Clubhouse a lot, and we hold rooms multiple times a week at night. And this information has just been channeling through nonstop for about 1.5 years. So I am so grateful to be able to share it with everyone today. And really what we're talking about is as star seeds and, as we awaken and embody more of our higher frequencies, more of our starseed frequencies, we are now able to begin to anchor those into the human experience. And I know a lot of starseeds, when we awaken, or even if we're born awakened, when we have our starseed activations, right, where we have those remembrances come in and we understand that Earth is not our primary home, and we start to really get all of these amazing experiences where we're having, these beautiful journeys and this downloaded information. Earth is really intense and full of contrast right now, right? And a lot of starseeds want to, kind of not be fully embodied. And here is your encouragement. If you are like that right now, drop into your heart, look at your specializations and masteries and geniuses that you have brought with you from so many lives, both from within the human earth experience, if you've had life other than the one you're currently living, but also from all of your star lineages. And you don't come to Earth unless you're a master. You don't come to Earth unless you have many, many, many specializations, and you bring those in. We all came in so that we could embody and assist the human Earth collective to transform what it means to be human on Earth, and to transform the Earth experience from a very third dimensional experience into an embodiment of a more fifth dimensional expression, right? So the more that we ground in, the more that we anchor our frequencies within our human, and we live from the heart space in neutrality or above as an objective observer in love, then we're able to really get a visual and an understanding of what's happening on the planet from a higher perspective. And we aren't so weighed down by the contrast and by the intensity, because we understand its purpose, and we see every person that we interact with, we begin to see and understand their current degrees of consciousness expansion, and it removes the judgment, right? So it removes the judgment that we have for our own life, but it also removes the judgment that we have for others. And we begin to honor everyone in where they are within their current degree of consciousness expansion. We all have slumbering aspects of consciousness right now. That's just part of the human experience. And we all have aspects that are awakening, and those continue to expand, right? So the more that we really focus on being a conscious embodiment within this human experience of our high self and all of our star lineages and those frequencies that we bring in, that creates a CHORD of frequency, like a really broadband spectrum. When we begin to anchor that in, we are actually anchoring into Gaia herself, and she will happily work with us if you're not already doing that. That allows us to be a conduit for the beautiful high dimensional frequencies that we all hold, because we have all of the dimensions within us, right? So we are essentially all of the dimensions. Our soul is expressing in many different dimensional forms simultaneously. And we get to anchor that in to assist our beautiful planet with her ascension back into her original creation point, which is a fifth dimensional expression, right? And the foundational building blocks of the fifth dimension are unity consciousness and unconditional source love, right? So the illusions of separation and forgetting begin to dissipate the more we are embodying our fifth dimensional frequencies. And so what ends up happening is our planet is supported, and we begin to become a very conscious expansion catalyst. That's a name that my soul team gave all of us, that we're all expansion catalysts. We have the potential to be an expansion catalyst. And what that means is that our consciousness and the clarity that we have within our own mental, emotional, and physical fields, and of course, spiritual and etheric, begins to ripple outward from us in very almost like concentric circles of energy begin to ripple out from us. And just from being, we don't have to do anything at this point, though we will, but just from being, we are now elevating everyone within our vicinity, right? So people are going to have more epiphanies, more awakenings, more expansion within their consciousness, just from us existing in the world somewhat near to them. And the way they showed it to me, they brought through a lot of visions and downloads on this initially. And the way they showed it to me was like Earth was a very still, like, body of water, right? That looks like glass, right? And all of us started rippling all around the world. And we were just, as we rippled, other people began to embody more fifth dimensional consciousness and became more, became an expansion catalyst themselves, or more of a far reaching one. And it was just like this whole globe was filled with energetic ripples, concentric ripples, like lots of little stones had been thrown into a pond that was a sphere. And it was the most magical moment of understanding. And it just began to increase and increase and increase and increase. And then everything became still again, and the earth glowed. And it was like emanating this beautiful crystalline diamond rainbow light and golden light and all of these beautiful high vibratory light frequencies that we're all carrying, right? So it was amazing. So if you can look at yourself and your life in a way that you have the intention of first becoming aware of your own consciousness and your own sort of mental structure and emotional structure, and really looking at it through neutrality. The things that trigger you. Why am I feeling triggered by this, right? Rather than allowing that emotional uprising, which you can, but you don't have to, right? You can go, why am I feeling triggered by this? Okay, let's look at this a little deeper. This is an invitation to go within. So really the way I view everything is that we are, you know, our inner world directly reflects in our external reality. And part of becoming a conscious creator is recognizing this. There's an accountability there, but it's not the kind that's like a punishment sort of accountability, right? That a lot of people associate that word with. It's really just, oh, okay, I'm creating this. I have a co-creation in this with someone else, or I'm creating this within my own reality. And where is this coming from? Because if we can recognize something that maybe doesn't feel great, right? Or maybe it does, maybe it feels amazing and we want more of it. When we can recognize that, then we can really work with the energy within our own lives. And a lot of that begins in our beliefs. A lot of the beliefs that most of us have been created when we're a small child and then built upon. So it's an entire belief system structure that has, you know, core hubs of beliefs that, excuse me, let's just clear that throat chakra real quick. Thank you. Okay, so it has core hubs of beliefs that a lot of other beliefs stem off of. And with these beliefs, we create stories that we tell ourselves to solidify them within our reality, but we also create unconscious and conscious patterning that continues to cycle them into our life and situations that are in alignment with them into our life. And those that feel good, you know, if we drop into gratitude and really focus on it and we're like, ooh, I love this energy. I love this expression. I love this experience. I would like more of this, please. Then it begins to multiply and magnify, and we bring in more of those harmonious energies with who we're choosing to be in this now moment and how we're choosing to embody and what we're doing in service of the world, right? Of the collective, of the all. And if it's something that doesn't feel, it feels disharmonious or unharmonious, whatever that word is, I'm having a little bit of brain fog still, but if it feels that way, then this gives us the freedom, if we can objectively observe it and see what it's connected to within our own structure, our own internal constructs. Then we can see, oh, have I adopted this in? Is this part of humanity's co-creation of, you know, collective agreements? Is it part of the control construct that we're creating together and with other beings? Or is it something that I have created, you know, in a moment of not fully being able to perceive the entire situation, right? Where I was not in neutrality and being able to get an overview of what's going on. So then we get to say, okay, well, is this who I'm choosing to be now? Is this still true for me? And if the answers are no to these questions, then we get to, you know, of course, drop in, feel it, honor it for what it has taught us and what it has reminded us about ourselves. But then also, you know, after we do the honoring and the love of it, because we're not resisting anything or attaching to anything, we're simply observing and then dropping into the action, the inner action. And then we get to go, okay, well, if this doesn't feel good anymore, this doesn't feel resonant anymore, what does? Right? So we get to withdraw our energy and deflate that particular aspect that we've been bringing into our life and that has been cycling in to show us, hey, this isn't in resonance anymore. Okay, we're going to amp it up again a little bit more and bring it in again. This isn't in resonance with us. What do you choose? That's what those cycling patterns are. They're an indication to go within, to drop into our hearts and drop into our inner knowingness and say, is this in alignment with me anymore? And you know it isn't because of how you react to it, right? If there's an intense emotional draw, is there trauma related to this? Is there something that's asking for, you know, deep trauma asks for shadow work? You know, sort of, you know, the more less intense traumas may ask for inner work, right? Everything asks for inner work in my world, but you know, then we get to go, okay, how do I want to manage this? How do I want to, you know, address this in my world? And then what would I prefer instead? What would I like to create instead? So I'm inflating something else that feels more in alignment, that uplifts not only myself, but other people. So as we begin to do this on a regular basis, it becomes faster and faster and easier, just like an affirmation, right? I think most people have done affirmations at some point in their life. And when you first start to do one that you don't believe yet, you'll have resistance pop up in yourself, right? And then you deepen into it and try to understand it and, you know, kind of dive deeper into it, but you keep repeating it. And eventually you're totally in alignment with it. And it uplifts you and you begin to see change, you know, forward focusing change occur in your reality based on it, but also in your inner world. It's similar to that, right? So when we do this, we're able to really begin to consciously create our own personal reality, which in that in itself, we can then begin to create a bigger picture with it, right? So now we're not just holding the idea of New Earth, we're living embodiments of it. We are creating it in every now moment, right? So you guys might see kitties. So we are, you know, then moving into being a conscious creator of our reality, but also we're holding more of that fifth dimensional unconditional love, anchoring in that unity consciousness that we all have, and we are all expressing as in multiple source expressions is what I like to call them. We'll call them lives, even though all of them aren't necessarily in physicality. So we're anchoring in that knowingness that we are all one. And that begins to shift and change this world. People who may not have thought about that are now in our vicinity as we're radiating these frequencies and these codes and this wisdom and this knowledge out into the world just from embodiment. Now we're actually having other people, they're using us as a permission slip, so to speak, within their own energy fields, with their own mental, emotional, physical, spiritual, and energetic fields, and they're giving themselves codes, but they're accepting codes that they're resonant with. So we serve as like a permission slip, right? And we serve as the background for a permission slip for people. And this can happen on a very unconscious level as well. But then they will begin to become more conscious as they move forward in their journey. And so really, you know, we can hold the vision and the feeling and the knowingness of what 5D Earth feels like for us, what we would want to see more of in this world now, and begin to live it and embody it in very real ways within our reality. And you know, we have all of these amazing tools in the world right now that are, you know, really introducing us to different ways of getting into these frequencies within ourselves and remembering them and magnifying them. And the idea for all of this is to awaken those slumbering aspects of consciousness, right? So that we can really fully embody in this world. And that does mean, for starseeds, that does mean that we enjoy being in the body, that we find the pleasure of the human earth experience, even with all of the intensity and contrast. And that intensity and contrast, just for those of you that are really feeling it right now, there is purpose in all of it, right? And I know we hear other people talk about this, and I'm just going to share my codes as I speak on it with you guys, but there's purpose in all of it. It is a global awakening system, so to speak, right? So all of the things that we did in the age of the mind, the old paradigm, they're not necessarily bad, and some of them will transfer and move forward with us into our more fifth dimensional expression. But the things that don't serve us as individuals nor as a whole, right? Those things are being magnified for all of us to see and experience and know. And with that magnification, it's designed to awaken mass amounts of soul groups, like mass amounts of people who are embodied from particular soul groups simultaneously. And the idea is to kind of have a crack me open experience for those who that's how they're choosing this. There has to be a better way. Change is necessary. What can I do to help with the change in the world? And that will look different for each and every one of us. So there's really no reason for us to judge another on their journey. They are exactly where they're supposed to be in each now moment, just as we are. And their soul is expressing and, you know, in the ways that they have designed for themselves and that they are choosing through free will, right? So it's important for us as starseeds to also hold compassion and understanding for the mass awakening that's happening and the little baby, awakenings that are happening within everyone's consciousness, here and there, speckled throughout our days, and hold space and really just shine our light and utilize those specializations and those masteries and those geniuses in whatever way your heart is telling you to. And for a lot of us, it's going to be being seen and felt and heard in a much bigger way than we are probably comfortable with, myself included. At first, I was petrified of public speaking a year and a half ago, right? So, you will make it through it, and trust your team and trust your intuition, and remember, it's not about you. And that's what works for me, at least. So if that can help you, if you're one of those people, it's not about me. This is about the codes, keys, and frequencies, the wisdom and knowledge that is channeling through me that other people will be able to receive if they so choose to, right? And they'll use that for permission slips for their own awakening and consciousness expansion journeys, right? So if you are feeling the nudge to be seen, if you are feeling the nudge to be heard or to create something, do it, step into it, because this is what we came for, right? So healing the world, and healing the world begins with healing ourselves, right? And helping, others expand their consciousness just through being or through speaking or whatever you're creating. That also begins as an inner journey, right? So for me, the focus is always on, clearing this vessel, being the most clear channel I can be, so that the information and the codes and the keys and the frequencies that are flowing through are actually, coming through in a way that is free of distortion, so that they can be received in a very clear way and be a full service and assistance to whomever is ready for them. And I think it's just really important right now for all of us to just be who we came here to be, embody, anchor in. If you are feeling really resonant with being in the ethers and not feeling fully grounded, I'm not talking to you. This isn't necessarily for you right now, right? That's what I mean by that. That came out kind of rough, but this isn't necessarily for you now. If that is what you're here to do in this now moment, is, have that ethereal, not necessarily grounded in experience, do that. If this doesn't feel resonant with you, stay where you are and what you're doing in full embodiment, right? Because your embodiment may be slightly different than what I'm, speaking of right now. But if you're feeling, a nudge to step out and do more, and to speak more, and to be more, if you're feeling kind of this resistance with grounding in because you are seeing the worst in humanity, and if it's causing you to lose hope, that's when fully embodying and anchoring in and really looking inward and really peeling away the layers of your own onion, the things that you've adopted in that aren't necessarily your truth anymore, the programming that you have adopted in from all of your friends and family and, people within your life that isn't resonant with you, and all of the collective programming that you're here to really assist with the clearing of the ancestral, karmic sort of things. All of these things really do assist us to remain embodied. So when we do the inner work ourselves, then we can hold more compassion. We're holding compassion for ourselves. We're doing a lot of, balancing and harmonious things within our own life that help us feel centered. And, harmony is a big thing. It's a big thing right now. It's something that's coming through a lot. Finding that harmony within ourselves in everything that we're bringing into our reality, everything that we're creating through our own, creator being consciousness. Harmonize everything. And when we do that, that's when it's easier for us to support and serve other people, right? And I think a lot of us understand this, but I have heard so many people, talking about, how terrible humans are and things like this. Humans are amazing. We are so creative. We're ingenious. We have this immense capacity for love in a way that is, you know, super full. There's a lot of depth to our ability to really feel and have emotions for one another and for ourselves. And if we're not able to see that for other people, then it's telling us that it's time to get our own house in order, so to speak, right? So, yeah, I feel so passionate about all of this, and I really, really, you know, want to support and uplift any of you. If you are in a moment where you are seeking, you know, support and guidance, come to Clubhouse, come hang out with us in Awaken Ascending. That's the name of our club. We do this multiple times a week where we support people within their journey. Starseed, we have Starseed specific rooms and all kinds of things. So if you're feeling like you don't have a community and you feel alone, I've seen a number of people in the chat on Portal saying this during this event. Definitely come and find your community, find your soul tribe that can help you expand, find your, you know, and it doesn't have to be someone that you can touch, right? Touch is important and we love that. But if you are in a different place in the world, your soul family is out here. We're all here together, and all of the soul families are actually really connected, right? So we're all in oneness. We're all here. And star seeds, you know, activated star seeds, we have a sort of mini collective consciousness that we generate within the whole, just like many other groups do. And if you're feeling really alone, if you're feeling, you know, like you have this deep desire to be supported, if you've lost hope, these sorts of things, reach out to the Starseed Collective just through intention, saying, Starseed Collective, Starseed family, I need support, I need love. And we will send it to you. There are many of us that are very conscious of being connected to that collective field that we all share. And we will send you, we will stop, drop, and send you love and support right then. Many of us will also call in your soul team, your, you know, all those beautiful beings that are here to guide and assist you. And that's another reminder for creating a new, you know, new earth here and now, is we have an entire support system of amazing beings who are, you know, our friends and our family, and who are also our parallel aspects of soul, parallel lives, so to speak, right? And they're all here to support us. And all we have to do is ask. All we have to do is reach out. There is no true separation. So if we're in that separation consciousness, just reach out and ask, and they will come in, and you will feel yourself beginning to become lighter and brighter, just through those interactions. And yeah, Waxela, I'm not sure how much time I have left.
You can go about 3 more minutes, or 3 to 5 if you want to.
Okay, great. Yeah. So let me think. Am I complete? 3 to 5 minutes. I think that might be all that wants to come through right now.
Okay. Well, that was beautiful and expansive. And I really, some of the things that that you said that really hit home for me, and I think they're so important for people to embrace, are like the non-judgment of self and other, because I do see a lot of people have an awakening, or maybe they have a sudden awakening and they think they know everything and everyone else is wrong, right? Or somebody's been working 30 or 40 years on their spiritual path, and then they see these new people who think, you know, whatever, and there's this judgment. And there are all different types of starseeds. There are all different types of people on this planet. There are all different types of awakenings. So to bring in that non-judgment of yourself, non-judgment of other, don't compare your own journey to somebody else's. Don't look at the speakers today and say, oh, I wish, you know, I was more like that person, but listen rather to what people have to say and find what resonates for you. And I just have been hearing a lot of judgments lately. So I think it's so important to presence that, for one thing.
Oh, I love that. Yeah. It's very deep programming, and it is learned behavior. As children, we don't do that. This is learned behavior, and it's deep, deep, deep programming, and it's a part, technically, of the control construct that we've all, for generations, agreed to be in. And the other side of that, right? So there's the judgment. It's kind of like resistance and attachment, right? Like resistance and attachments are the same, two sides of the same coin. I think I said that right. I get those phrases wrong all the time, but two sides of the same coin. So the other side of the judgment, the outer, resistance and deflection of a reflection is, the pedestaling that happens, right? So like seeing someone who has been doing this work and who is here to assist and serve, and putting them on a pedestal, or having them put themselves on a pedestal, right? Those frequencies are old paradigm, and we can let them go now. If you see someone that is really shiny to you in one way or another, right, and lights you up, that's actually an indication that there's something within your own consciousness that's asking to be brought in and embodied in your life, right? So rather than put them on a pedestal, start paying attention, and then look within and see, okay, this is being asked of me to embody myself, or it wouldn't be as shiny in them as it is, right? That's a reflection that's coming back to you. And so is, the things that we're judging about other people. It's either a reflection of our own belief system, something within our belief system that whatever they're doing kind of rubs against it, right? Like creates some friction. Well, I mean, it can be so many different things, right? But it's always a reflection. It's a reflection of how we are with ourselves when we're judging someone else. And it's time for us to just let it go. Have that beautiful journey, that beautiful love relationship with ourselves. And, the support ourselves like we do the people that we love the most in the world, with no strings attached, right? And then it's easy for us to do that with other people. And our cup is still full, right? So we want to serve and love from a cup that's overflowing, right? And so that's what all of this is about. And this is what creates New Earth. I've had many visits to, the New Earth, so to speak, but this is actually what we are creating in the now moment. If you see something you love happening in the world, drop in, feel gratitude, and say more of this, please, right? These things are what help us create New Earth. And I feel like I've been talking a while, so I can talk about this all day.
Yeah, that's great. And I love how you share passionately, and just you certainly have a certain frequency that you share from, and it's really beautiful. So thank you for all that you've shared today. And so for everybody listening, we will be going into a speaker panel next, and I want to give everyone an opportunity to ask questions. And some people have already been sending in some questions. So I just want to give you a heads up. We'll be asking questions from the viewers. Also YouTube, I have the YouTube stream on here. And I apologize for, if I'm ever looking away, it's because I'm checking in on YouTube, or, there's a lot letting people in the door. So there's a lot to moderate, as well as hosting today. This has been so much fun, and I've appreciated everyone's input so much. Honey did have to go. She originally was going to be here the whole time, but due to the hurricane and the evacuation, her schedule got changed. So luckily we got her for the hour that we got her, but she did have to move on with her day. And so it will just be, I will be moderating, and then it'll be Bridget, Nadi, and Meg. And you're welcome to ask any questions from anything that you heard today. You're also welcome to ask questions on something that you didn't hear about, or just a question that might have come up for you. And so I'm just going to go back. I've been kind of watching as we go. One of the questions asked, Nadi, was when you were speaking, and I'm going to go ahead and highlight you. So one of the things that came up was breath work. This is kind of perfect. Someone asked about breath work and sacred geometry. And there wasn't a specific question. The question was more, I think they said, it was Patricia, and she said, please talk about breath work and sacred geometry.
Yeah, that's such a great question. And we can tag team that one because we're looking, we're planning on doing this breath work and geometry class workshop. It's in formation, right? So I think I had proposed the synergistic combination with Waxela because I love to teach people to draw sacred geometry, as I mentioned. And one of the things that has taken it to the next level is breathing while you draw. And I know it sounds tremendously simple, but breathing is the magic key hidden in plain sight, right? We're so disconnected from it, but it's this massively transformational tool. And I've found that, as I was talking about with the geometry reflecting our own physiology, our own psycho-spiritual wellness, when you're working with the patterns, when you're drawing, when you're meditating, if you incorporate conscious breathing, there's some sort of combination of how the breathing is just exponentially more powerful, more activating, right? So what I try to speak to is the mystery. So much of the workshops, we are all trying to touch on this ineffable, energetic, invisible realm, these other dimensional realms, and all of these tools we have are the best way to connect with these other aspects of ourselves and with this invisible reality that is so potent and nourishing and divine. And so when we access the breath and combine it with the geometry, we've got these two tools right in front of us that it's like I said, hidden in plain sight. So we're just tapping into the obvious, and it's always funny because it's trying to speak in an esoteric way about something that is just fundamental and basic, and it's this combination of tapping the metaphysical aspects of breathing deeply and the consciousness expansion that comes from that, and the embodiment that comes from connecting through the breath, and the embodiment that comes from connecting with the geometry that is us. So it's this combo platter that we want to host this event because it can be really transformational. Everybody on the calls has spoken to the potency of all of this work, and so these are just tools that when you combine them they've been really useful in my transformation and expansion. So we wanted to offer that. And I don't know, Waxela, if you want to combine the breathwork piece. I'm amazed by the work you do with all that, the healing.
Thank you, Nadi. Yeah, breath, if you think of breath is life, and we are geometries. And as we breathe and come out of our, physical consciousness of our physical body expands out. When we breathe consciously, we can access higher states of ourselves, higher states of consciousness as we're accessing the patterns around our body. And this is something that I have consciously done. So I've created, I do Ascension breath work. It's a technique that I offer, and that's what Nadi's talking about. So we've talked about putting these two things together already, breath work and sacred geometry, because it's the fundamental things in life that really are the most expansive. The breath, the basic building blocks, geometry. And so, this is something that we've spoken about. It's sort of in the pre-carnation aspect, but it's definitely there. We're creating it. And I love that confirmation just from that question is, that's coming. And it's powerful. Breathwork alone is powerful. Sacred geometry alone is powerful. The two together, more expansion, right?
Yeah. And I want to say also, who was asking the question, which is wonderful, your inquiry, whether you're drawn to sacred geometry, whether you're sparked by breath work. I think Bridget was just she was speaking about follow that thing that lights you up, right? So asking about those two modalities, those two practices, just take it the next step. I would just encourage that exploration, because if that's what's exciting to you, that's where your next stage is. Just to confirm that question is great.
Absolutely. Yes. So let me look at my, let's see, let me look at this. And if anyone else wants to speak on that topic, Meg, you work with lots of sacred geometries as well.
I use the breath for the inflow outflow of the move chi into, it's like the pranic breathing or kundalini breath, as we're doing the activations, especially of the sacred geometry, as well as using the sacred geometry to do transformative work or alchemical change. And I cannot do one without the other. So the breath just started actually happening naturally for me when I would focus on the sacred geometry activation, Metatron's cube activation. So it's, in a way, you're activating the entire all the layers or levels or bodies of your field into that, what we call the 0 point pulse. It's the expansion and the contraction of the life force. So as you're breathing in and out with the creative alchemy that's happening in that transformation point. So it's I think it's a great recommendation that you guys are doing and bringing that up. It can't happen without the other.
Wonderful. Thank you. Okay, Bridget, we have a question for you. Someone wants to know, what is the benefit of knowing your starseed origin?
Oh, there's so much. So knowing your starseed origins, because we have many, right? There's so much. It helps you remember who you are at the core essence of your being. So the way our soul incarnates is simultaneously throughout a lot of different lives, at least in my understanding of it, right? And these are all different dimensional expressions, but it can be, you can have 5 lives in a 5th dimensional expression or whatever, right? But when you begin to really access those lineages, then it's like a kind of unlock aspects of your remembrance that enables you to really consciously embody those frequencies that you have from that, but also the wisdom and the knowledge from those particular lives. And when you, like someone that identifies, they hear about Pleiadians for the first time, odds are they're going to, at the core essence of their being, have a very heart-based, open, expansive kind of, free-flowing love vibe to them, right? And that's kind of how Pleiadians are, right? I mean, just think of Wendy Kennedy and her 9th dimensional Pleiadian collective that she channels, right? That there's a particular vibe to them. So when we have that understanding of who our lineages are, we begin to really, it's like, oh, I get why I'm like this. I understand why I'm like this. It's usually what it first does is it gives us that inner validation. And that inner, oh, I fit here. This makes sense, especially for a lot of starseeds who, most of our lives, most of you felt like you didn't fit in a lot of ways. And it gives you that that conscious support system as well, that is happening both within others who are Pleiadian descent. We'll just use Pleiadians for an example because I think everybody knows about them. But then you begin to really understand which of your specializations and masteries, which of the, of those geniuses that you're using in your own life already or will be, come from those particular incarnations, those particular connections. And often when that happens, you start to have the remembrances, or you're already having them, of your lives. You might still be in dreams time or meditation, connecting into a parallel aspect of your soul, hanging out with them in their consciousness, going to ships, doing all of these different things, right? So it really just unlocks, I call them activations, right? So when you find out about your connection with who you are, or your friends and family, however you want to view it, then it starts to unlock. It's like permission slips, like I was saying earlier for something else. It serves as like, oh, when this happens, I'm gonna, transfer into these particular experiences within my life. And it begins to help you really remember your wholeness and remember who you are at the core essence of your being, which again anchors in those frequencies when you do it in a very conscious way. And it opens so many other doors as well for you within your life and within your consciousness, and working with the particular star lineages that you actually hold frequency for in this life. That really just opens up even more within your starseed journey of how you are in the world and how you can be of service. That was a long answer, but there's so many parts to that, I feel like. And I feel like I just barely scratched the surface explaining it here, but we don't want to take an hour, and you guys know I could.
Thank you.
You're
Yes,
welcome.
thank you, Bridget. And I think that just one thing I'd like to add to that is not to get too attached to being any specific type of starseed, because what you'll find, and this certainly happened in my journey, when I first tapped into my Syrian origins, I really I've embraced that, really focused on it. And then I expanded out and realized, oh, wait, I have origins in other places as well. Arcturian and Andromedan and Pleiadian and many, many more. And if you're locked into one, you might miss a lot of other parts of yourself. And also what I find happens is the more you explore and sink in, meditate, expand, open, the more you allow these other parts of yourself to reveal themselves. So while it's fun, kind of like your zodiac or doing your astrology, we have a big mix, right? We're not just our sun sign. We have all these different things working together to create our whole chart. And the same is true of our galactic origins. So have fun, explore it, notice how it affects you, but don't get locked into just one or two galactic starseed races. And if anyone else wants to make a comment along those lines, feel free.
I so agree. I have been activated, and this does not mean that I don't have connection with others. To me, my activations, I view them as direct experiences in one way or another with that particular being, where I'm like, this is who I am, or this is, my connection point. So it can mean different, activation can mean different things for different people. So I have Pleiadian, Syrian, Lyran, Andromeda Galaxy, Auroran, Arcturian, and I'm really connected to a lot of other races. Like, I'm super connected to the Mantis beings. That is sort of a newer thing that's been coming in more as I think probably the last year. But I'm also connected to the Orions, and I'm also connected, so it doesn't mean that you don't have a deep connection with other things. It's about the frequencies that you're here to express and emanate in this now moment. And that will shift and change, and more of them will come in. I feel the deeper you dive into, your full embodiment and raising your own vibration and expanding your own consciousness. But yeah, I love that with Shayla. I love that you brought that up.
Okay, great.
I have something to share too. I found in working with light workers for the past 25 years that most, at least the ones I've worked with, are actually not from this galaxy, that most have actually traveled from far different crystalline universes to be here. And that's part of our gift, is to bring that crystalline light here where it doesn't exist. And so, yes, we may have had like a Syrian incarnation or Pleiadian incarnation, but I'm going to guess most are far beyond just this little local area here of the Orion Belt. And so one of the things that I do in helping people connect to their home star is, you don't really even have to know the name of it. I'm going to guess most of our home stars don't even have like letters, English letters. There's no name that we could even really say, verbalize. And so I lock onto the soul frequency that is uniquely yours. You lock onto your soul frequency and say, take me to my home star, because I work in the quantum vortex, which is like a time machine. I just state the command. I can feel myself getting pulled through a wormhole, through the portal of the Milky Way galaxy center and into these parallel universes. And when you connect to your home star and your home family and your origin, your original soul, that's the starlight, that's the soul light that actually fuels your own light body. You're designed from your origin, you're designed to run on your own starlight. So that's, for me, yes, you can go into the stories of all that, that's fun, curious if you're curious, but really you want to connect to your original God spark, your original soul, and your original home starlight, because that's what's going to run your light body.
Yes, I love that. Thank you so much, Meg. And there's so many things we have no idea what all is out in the universe, multiverse, right? So there's a lot more than we could possibly name. And I love that. Also, let's keep expanding out and not get like too stuck on just the ones we know about and we've heard about. Right. Absolutely. So we have a great question here from Mark. And it's for anybody that feels called to answer. Beyond intent, can anyone share techniques for bringing one's magical and healing abilities from past lifetimes or incarnations into the present?
I can comment on that. People say, well, how do I know what my soul purpose is? How do I know who my soul is? The only way you're going to know is you got to embody it. Otherwise, it's just a concept. So the more that you bring your soul essence in you, you embody it, you ground it in every day, you begin to learn what your origin, your divinity wants to express in the world, is what's interesting, what is the soul interested in, what are their soul gifts that are starting to awaken in you. And because you are bringing in your totality of your divinity, you're bringing in what you already are a master of from other timelines. That's how I'm able to do what I do. My human self doesn't know how to do any of this. This is my soul coming in with all that I've learned and mastered in all space-time to come in now. So keep just focusing on embodying your soul, and then you get to learn who you really are and become the channel for that to move through you. That was like one of my earlier mantras, with I'm a clear and open channel for my soul to work through me. This is where you surrender, you allow in your divinity to be alive and expressing in the world, and that's how you get to know who you are.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful. Yes. Thank you, Meg. I would also say, Mark, that in order to tap into those past, if you're asking the question, can I bring my healing abilities from past incarnations forward to this lifetime, then there must be a part of you that's aware that you have healing abilities from past lifetimes. So I would say to go into meditation and just allow those memories to come forward. And then, we can think of time as a sphere, as simultaneously happening. If there is a part of you that from the past that has healing abilities, that part still exists right now. It's existing simultaneously. So you can draw the energy from that past lifetime into this lifetime. It's also, there's a technique called quantum jumping, where you can sort of jump yourself into that lifetime, bring forward those gifts and abilities that you've had in other incarnations, or possibly simultaneous incarnations that are happening right now, and then have the benefit of embodying them, as we're all talking about embodiment today, embodying those gifts and abilities. And then you can bring them through and manifest them in your current reality right now. Okay, so another question, just from N. It says, I guess it says pinging again, the question about autoimmune diseases, since so many of us are sensitive beings and are experiencing this. Okay, I must have missed a question about disease and autoimmune diseases. And yeah, there is a lot of that going on. Does anyone want to talk about? Oh yeah, here it is. Okay, I found it. I've been dealing with creating and learning from autoimmune disease and things that are causing a lot of physical pain. It's what led me deeper down this path, and I'd love to know how to heal from it and keep giving. From N.
I can comment on all that. As a quantum healer, I work with this quite often. I also have had my own history of Epstein-Barr, so autoimmune disease. I find most of it is stemming from viral toxins. And what I found in working with it is it's mostly being fed on trauma. So the more that you heal and clear and delayer your own trauma from this life and past life, you're starving out the viral infection that's contributing to autoimmune disease. In a way, your own system is being, in a way, kind of overwhelmed by really dense layers of trauma. So this is, again, you can do somatic, nervous, kind of neural clearing, body work, quantum healing work, whatever is the modality. You can use acupuncture, whatever you're drawn to. I would dive into it and start clearing childhood trauma, core wound trauma, ancestral trauma, and past life trauma. Most starseeds who incarnated like in Atlantis are loaded with Atlantean trauma. So this is where we have to really start to see ourselves as, multidimensional, multi-timeline beings. And this is, again, I've had from birth allergies. Allergies, again, the body is trying to attack whatever it feels is foreign. It's going after all that trauma. So the more that you heal and clear, you're starving out the reaction, right, where it's compromised, and you're rebirthing with your embodied soul life force, your own Kundalini life force that's regenerating healthy cells, healthy organs. You begin this whole rebirthing process of moving beyond autoimmune disease.
Yes, thank you. Anyone else on that one?
I would love to just add, that was so beautifully said. And yes, I was like, yes, yes, yes. I would love to also add that sometimes, even for starseeds, right, there is a particular experience or a series of experiences that your soul wants to have. And if we're not listening to that and actively, consciously doing that within our reality, sometimes it will present through illness, dis-ease, and things like that. I have one particular, I'm not going to say who it is in mind, who has a really rare autoimmune disease. And when communicating with the high self, it came out that one of the main goals of this life is to be nurtured in specific ways. And this is actually showing up in the relationship with the spouse that is happening. So my thing, because I do a lot of beyond quantum healing hypnosis, but I also do multidimensional energy healing. When I work with these sorts of things, I communicate with the high self, and I realize they can be bartered with for things. So I'm like, okay, so if we can't remove this now, because they'll often say no, if we can't remove this now, and it's a co-creation, there's a being assisting this person to have this dis-ease experience, because we are designed to be in wholeness and fullness all the time. So it's a co-creation. So you can remove the being, the consciousness, but they will come back, right? And I find it's just best to go to the high self. So you can usually work on an agreement. Okay, so if this is not something you're willing to relinquish at this moment, what can they do to bring this into their life in a very conscious way, to counterbalance what is happening with the physicality, and how that is bringing it in? That's the magnetism for whatever it is. So when you can do that, often what they'll do is they'll say, okay, this, and this on a daily basis, this much. I mean, they'll give you a full, almost like routine of what to do and how to do it and how to bring it in. And then you can ask if, when they are resonating with that expression in their life, can we remove this? Will you, high self, remove this? And the answer is almost always yes. So you guys talk to your high selves. Get into a space where you can communicate with your high self and ask those questions, whether you can do it through meditation, through your own knowingness, through your own practice, or a hypnosis session or something like that. But yeah, there's always room for negotiation. Well, I wouldn't say always. There's room for negotiation on most things with the high self. I can't say across the board, but yeah, that's what I would love to add.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. And just to contribute to that question about healing autoimmune disease or any disease at all, the awareness that, and this is, I've experienced this personally. Also, Dr. Joe Dispenza work is something I've been doing for many years, and he goes deeply into coherence healing, which it's essentially the frequency or basically the geometries, the coherent patterns or incoherent patterns around the body, around the field of energy in our biofield, project in to the body and manifest harmony or disharmony, balance or unbalance, ease or dis-ease. So when we have a dis-ease, it's first a pattern in our field. And so if we can work with those patterns in our field and have them become coherent, we can actually cure. We can have spontaneous healings. We can also have slow healings. It's not bound by time, but working with patterns in the field to become coherent actually creates an opportunity for things to heal that science doesn't even have healing, things for, like healing techniques for, at least not allopathic medicine. And so again, that's kind of your arena too, Nadi, is the patterns in the field. I would imagine that working with sacred geometries on a daily basis, looking at them, drawing them, working with them would help us image coherent patterns and then be sort of projecting them from the outside in, which could be very healing. There are many ways to do this. Meditation, putting yourself in frequencies that are healing. I work with something called Alchemy spheres, photon light balls. That people call me all the time. Wow, I've had a spontaneous healing of some issue that doctors couldn't help me with, or even on a Zoom call sometimes. And it's because that photon light is projecting a coherent pattern into their field. They're receiving it, and it is changing the incoherent patterns in the physical, at the physical level.
That's beautiful.
Go ahead, Nadi.
Yeah, I would jump in on that as well with the geometry. Sorry, my cat's in the way. Part of what I've been contemplating as I listen to the conference and go into a sense of self-judgment. And I thought, Bridget, you spoke to that so lovely, and Waxela, just adding being at peace with our own process. And that process can look like a cosmic 2x4 that takes a while for integration, or in my experience, it could take a slow and steady progression, which included the geometry. I mean, it's been years, I could say over a decade, right, of slow and steady commitment, almost daily, but in some way, shape, or form, working with basic patterns. And this could translate from geometry to any kind of spiritual practice, anywhere you find your faith. That slow, incremental, I would say disciplined and dedicated efforts to come into ourselves. So as we've been listening, there are so many levels of activation, awareness, consciousness, whether it's galactic or more planetary. That's part of what I love about the geometry is its accessibility, right? Like you can look and go, this is a circle, this is a triangle, here's a square, it leads us to a pentagon, leads us to platonic solids, it leads us to Metatrons, right? I've had a slow progression, and coming to peace with that has been part of the journey. And so I just wanted to add that into the mix, and that there can be really basic, steady gifts, like gifts that are not flashy, they're not glamorous, they're not starseed transmissions. There's a ton of planetary activations that seem mundane in the face of starships, but they're very important, and it's a really great place to start. So yeah, right, what's right in front of us, breath work, sound healing. Just wanted to put a plug in for the potential of the simple yet accessible tools that have helped me in my transformation. So.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you. Thank you so much, everybody. I think we just have a couple minutes left. So I'm going to finish with one last question from Fran, and we already answered the first half. So Fran is an empath, very sensitive, and she says, how to get more clarity for my purpose? I get homesick for my home place and soul family, even though I don't know where it is. And I can really relate to that feeling of that I used to feel so deeply lonely and from a different place, and nobody here really understands me, and how do I fit in, and what do I do here, and what's my purpose, and all of those things when I was young and I was on a mission, but I didn't quite know what it was or who I was. And so that one's close to my heart. And I find that it's so important to find spiritual community to support each other. That is why I do what I do. That is a huge part of my purpose. I've created a membership for that. And it's why I bring people together for these types of events and the summits, because we need to know that we're not alone. There's so many of us here, and it can be scary and it can feel lonely, but we can overcome that. And I'm not saying to ignore your loneliness. If that's what you're feeling, feel it. Don't just bypass it. But there are ways to find that connection. Go into your heart, find that love within yourself, give that to yourself, nurture yourself, and then find others who reflect that back to you. And the more you do that, and the more you love yourself and look at the universe and your reality as loving you, that you are so precious and infinitely loved, the more you're going to experience that reflected from other people toward you and find those connections. So I'd love for anybody who'd like to just share on that topic.
I can just add to that the more that we build the soul connection and embody the soul essence, the more we feel full and whole and complete and not disconnected. And I found any sense of loneliness or feeling alone or feeling abandoned just started to disappear, because in a way I was bringing home inside me. So home is where the heart is, home is wherever I went. I just felt I was home. So I think the more that you focus on delayering the real, what I would call compressed three-dimensional density that keeps us, this is the left brain that lives in time. This is what keeps us separate from our divinity, from our soul essence. The more you meditate, get out of that thinking mind, get into the now, get into coherence, you're able to then merge more and more with your divine soul essence, your soul's energy, your soul's love. You'll feel full. You won't feel any yearning for anything outside yourself. You're going to have everything you need inside yourself.
Thank you, Meg. Nadi or Bridget?
Yeah, I would agree with everything, right? Meg, the practices over time that bring us back to self, and yet, that's not an instant fix at all. It takes so much discipline. And Fran, I absolutely want to relate to you. I feel you in my heart goes out to you, because anytime I'm on Ascension summits or a lot of the things that Neil does on Portal to Ascension, a lot of the hybrids and the walk-ins and all of the advanced civilization programs, I get so homesick. It's terrible, because I deal with that regularly, because anytime there's a frustration here on this planet, I'm like, I'm out. How did I get? I go into that complaining place and the kind of the lower places, because it's hard. It is hard to be here. I just want to relate to that, and we're many of us are not from here, so I think you're doing it exactly right. You stay with community. You sign on to people talking about the same things. You know that you're not alone, and it does take work and perseverance. It takes perseverance to be here, and it takes a lot of strength to be a human being right now. So, I don't want to well done, congratulations. I feel like we all need gold stars for being here. So thank you, Fran, for speaking to that.
I just love you, Nadi. I just love you're so beautiful. I just love your energy. Fran, did you feel that love? Because there was so much support in all of these reactions and responses to you. And I would just say, if you're not already, raise your vibration and connect in with your family. Connect in with your family, connect in with your soul team, get with your community, and really, really dive deep with this. But also listen to these beautiful voices, and they're their wisdom that they're sharing with you. Yeah, I see that you say you feel it. I love that. You know, really, really get clear inside. When I look back in my life and my journey, when I felt the most lonely is when I was facing outward the most. So I agree with everything everyone has said, and I just want to pour some love and some support into you right now and to anyone else that's feeling like Fran, and just tell you that you're so very, very loved. And all you have to do is say, I open to receive. And we're going to call in the soul teams just for anyone who just might want the support, might want the love. Just calling in everyone's soul teams right now to magnify one another and just envelop your human person in as much love and support as they can accept right now. And we're just going to let that love pour in, and all you have to do is say, I receive, I'm here, I'm open, I'm ready. It's like a huge love fest. Oh my goodness, there's so much love happening right now and so much support. And if you cry, that's okay. That just means you really needed it. And you guys can do this for yourself anytime you want. You just pull in just from the intention or verbalization. Hey team, I really need some love. I really feel like I need to be loved right now. The angels are really excellent at this, you guys, too. All of them are. But if you're having a really extremely, intense moment, you can just ask for an angel hug, and boy, is that amazing. So just giving all of that, you guys just remember, we're all connected. We're all here together. When you're feeling that separation, go within and remember the unity that is always within you. And that's with your team, that's with us, that's with the whole world, right? So we love you. I love you. Thank you for receiving.
Thank you so much, Bridget. And I'm going to end the panel there. Thank you so much to each of you panelists, speakers today for your time, for your energy, for your love, and for this powerful information that you bring through. I appreciate all of you so much. So just huge thanks and love to each one of you. And thank you. The thank yous are coming through on the chats as well. And to everyone watching, thank you for your time and for all that you do and for your presence and for walking this journey with us. And we are all in this together. And it's just, we are a big family of light in so many different bodies. It's exciting and it's fun. I want to thank Portal to Ascension for hosting this live stream today. And I want to invite everyone over to the Alchemy of Ascension, waxelasananda.com/AOA6 if you'd like to be a part of that. We have 33 speakers speaking on expanded states of consciousness. And there are some really wonderful, amazing speakers and conversations. They are very expanding. So I really invite and encourage you all to come there. You can also check out my YouTube channel, Waxela Sananda. And with that, I just want to send out a massive gratitude to all of you, to the divine for bringing us all together here today, to Portal to Ascension for having a place for us. And I'm so grateful, after just coming through a hurricane, to be in one place, to be supported, to have friends who are willing to host me all day long on a Saturday to do a live in their office. And just, the feeling of being supported really showed up for me after Hurricane Ian, and I'm still without power for anyone that didn't hear that in the beginning. And just the sense of like, I know I'm loved. I know I'm taken care of no matter what. I know that we as humanity, we as community get to take care of each other. And that's so important. That's number one. So take care of each other, love each other. Just embrace the people that are around you, embrace your friends, reach out to any of the speakers today that you heard that you want to be a part of their container because you loved what they said, maybe all of them, and just keep showing up. I appreciate you all. I love you. Thank you for being here now. Namaste. If you're looking for spiritual community on your ascension path, you have found it. The Alchemy of Ascension community membership is a brand new membership that I have launched to bring together spiritual seekers, people who are actively working their ascension path, their ascension journey. And I know that for me, when I was younger and deeply into my spiritual path, I felt really alone on my journey. I didn't have spiritual community. And part of my mission now is to bring together people from all walks of life, from all over the world, and create a platform where we get to share together and be together. I will be in there with you every month doing activations and sharing information. I am really setting it up as an interactive community experience. So it's not all about me, it's about you. You get to meet like-minded people, interact with each other. There will be plenty of opportunities in a forum where you can chat, where you're not on social media, so you're all in this protected container together. There will be a book club. There will be mastermind opportunities. There will be breakout groups where you just get to know each other, get connected, get related, and make new friends. This is the very thing that I always wished that I had when I was younger and just starting out on my path. It is my greatest service to be able to provide this for you at a really low cost that I think is very fair. And so founding members are going to get to enter at $33 a month. And that will provide everything that the membership has to offer and a wonderful, beautiful experience as a member of an Ascension community. So if this is speaking to you, if this is something that you're interested in, find the link below and join me as a founding member. This is a limited time opportunity for founding members, and there will be a hard stop. We will close this opportunity at the end of the summit. So join us now and be part of this brand new community for all of us who are working on our ascension together. I appreciate you. I love you. Namaste.